Henderson to cross into the lane. Snakes one up and in. Wow! Circus shot. Scoot Henderson, a three-ring circus going up and under.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Gelstad picks up the ball, quickly races ahead. Hand off Bartholomew, left wing three. Stay hot! He hits it. Timeout Ducks. Keyshawn Bartholomew gets the Ducks within 2.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
The Ducks will survive. They will get a win. But oh my, what an effort. And Dana Altman acknowledges the effort from the Pilots here tonight through the handshake line. But it's going to be a pretty quiet bus ride home, thinking about what almost was. The Pilots had it.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan. Good morning. Happy Hump Day.
What is happening?
Nice little Wednesday morning flooding going on today.
Yeah, a little flooding out there on the drive in.
Little Noah's Ark.
Felt like it. There was a couple of spots on 84 on the way in. I was like, uh-oh, this could get a little dangerous here in a bit.
You're still doing the 84 thing.
Hasn't bit me again yet. I'm fine. I'm in the clear, man.
Bit you twice in like 3 weeks.
Our one time a year's out. We're good. Nothing will happen for the next 6 months. Nothing to worry about here.
I love my new route. There's nobody on it. It's amazing.
You're just flying by yourself going 85 at 5:15 in the morning.
That's so good.
Driving like Dale Jr. out there.
Damn right I am.
Yeah, there was one pocket getting close to the end of 84 where you start to kind of get ready to get on I-5 and you could get over toward the Lloyd Center exit.
Yeah.
That right lane there, that was the Lloyd Center exit lane, just a massive puddle.
Yeah.
Thankfully not affecting my lane, but I looked over and I was like, that's going to be an issue for somebody. Some little ass car is going to try and drive through that, and it's going to be a problem.
Well, nice thing about doing that in the dark is that you can't see them. It's almost like black ice.
That's terrifying.
Right until you're like
really
5 feet away from it, I look over, I'm like, oh, look at that, a massive puddle in the middle of the freeway. That's good.
When you go through it and the water shoots up to almost the top of your car, you're like, holy crap.
You can't see, you're like blinded for 3 seconds.
And it knocks your car a little bit, too.
It does.
This morning, I did have some trouble with that. I'm like, oh, a little hydroplane.
We had that on the entrance yesterday when I leave here. I just go up 16th, and the entrance onto 405, right before you merge, completely flooded. Well, thankfully, we were all slowing down, and so I saw it ahead of time.
Everybody was respectful of one another.
Yeah, but it was pretty deep little puddle there.
That's the worst when you get somebody who's not respectful of the situation. Just thinking about themselves and riding your ass. It's like, hey, we got a river going through the road here. Can we just, maybe slow it down to like 38 just for a couple of moments? We'll get through the body of water and everybody will be fine. Let's try and survive this one and get on the highway. How about that?
Holy pilot. They almost did it. Did you see any of this game?
No, I did not.
Trust Tree?
Trust Tree, I didn't watch a second.
Thank you.
Here's the situation.
They should have won this game. This was not it was a dogfight, and then it got to overtime. They choked this game away.
Look, when you come at the king, you better not miss, man. That's
They
all I
missed.
got to say, pilots. You take your shot. You can't miss. You had them on the ropes at halftime.
No, they had him on the ropes almost the entire game. Do you know when they blew this game?
In overtime, I'm assuming, because I saw the game went to
final
overtime.
minute.
Uh-oh.
They led twice by 11 in the second half. 2 different times. I'm like, whoa, this
Dirt,
is
they had a
This is gonna be a
5-point
thing.
lead with 36 seconds left.
How do you blow that, pilot?
Do you want me to walk you through how they blew it?
Give me the play-by-play. What happened?
Okay.
It's over.
So here's the situation.
Here's the situation.
So Oregon is losing, but compared to who they're playing, 8 points to the Pilots feels like 15.
It's not good.
Can we agree there?
Not good, Bob.
The Pilots struggle with Lewis and Clark. I saw that game.
I think they lost their last game by 40, did they not? The
UC
Pilots?
Santa Barbara beat them at the Child Center by 40.
UC Santa Barbara's a powerhouse. That's what the people tell me.
Swag actually tried to make. He goes, well, they're actually an experienced, good team.
a lot of veteran players.
Sprague.
I don't know.
They're good.
This could be the thing.
So-
We think.
I don't know what Jordan did or did not get because I heard the end call there in the open, and I commend Jordan Schultz for putting that in the open.
I've got the whole final call. I'm trying to get other
So
stuff.
here, I appreciate that.
We're going to have a full play-by-play breakdown of Pilots and Ducks from Swag.
I don't need the full breakdown, but here is the situation, literally, okay? A minute left. It is 65-60. the Pilots are leading. Oregon hits 2 free throws. All right? They then go down. Oregon gets another free throw. They make it 65-62.
Okay.
Chris Austin goes with 36 seconds to the line, makes a pair. It is 67-62 with 36 seconds
Regained their 5-point lead, making a couple of free throws.
Keyshawn Bartholomew hits a 3. It's 67-62.
Tightens up a little bit.
Now it's miss, foul, Austin Rapp, missed free throw.
Uh-oh.
Offensive rebound off the missed free throw.
Oh, no.
Rapp goes back to the line.
Oh, no.
Austin Rapp misses another free throw.
No, you can't do that.
Oregon gets the ball. Shellstad misses a corner jumper. Rapp grabs the rebound with 15 seconds left, up 2, and doesn't even think and just throws the ball at his teammate. It bounces off his chest.
Oh, no.
Oregon, Terry is right there. What is it? Jadrian Terry.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll take your word for it.
Gets the ball, lays it up with 9 seconds left, ties the game. The Pilot player misses. They go to overtime to lose.
They had a shot to win it even at the end on the final possession. After all of that, they still had one more look to try and win the game in regulation.
So Austin Rapp had 3 missed free throws and a turnover in the final 30 seconds and lost this game.
And then they say,
It's over!
It's over, guys. It's over. Sorry. Look, I knew that they didn't win, so you had texted at halftime the score.
Yeah.
Or no, Swag texted.
We're up 8, yeah.
He said, I don't know if you guys are watching, but we're up by 8 at halftime right now.
I was watching. I couldn't believe it.
And that led to both of us responding. And I was watching. I think the Blazer game was in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
Third, yeah.
And so I was watching that, and kind of once that game was over, I thought it was like basically just the start of the third or the second half in the Duck game. And I was like, I'm going to go to bed. I'm not going to watch the rest of it. And I will know immediately the second I wake up the outcome of this game. Because if I have a text thread from Jason Swigard, Oregon lost to the University of Portland, and I will never hear the end of it. No matter, they could win 2 games all year, which there's a very realistic possibility that could happen, and he will still brag about that come March. Well, yeah, we beat the Ducks, especially if Oregon ends up having a great year and like going to a Sweet 16.
Bad resume loss.
Bad resume. Well, we're in the Big Ten. That doesn't really matter anymore. The Big Ten gets 37 teams in the tournament every year, so none of that stuff is that important. But the second I woke up, turned my alarm off, looked at my phone, no text thread, I knew, okay, out of this end. Let's go find out how Oregon found a way to win this game.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And by the way, I watched quite a bit of college basketball yesterday.
I did too.
I watched more college basketball than I did NBA Cup. Although I did get Cup fever last night.
I did. I watched a little bit of the Warrior Mavs game. I turned that on for a bit.
How do you not see Clay come back?
Just to see the beginning of it, but I didn't see every second of it, but Duke and Kentucky was on my TV for basically the entire game.
So I watched the whole Michigan State-Kansas game because I don't know why in my mind I had them doing the playoff ranking at halftime, and then I know, and then halftime hit, and I'm like, no, you idiot. They do it between the games because it's too short a halftime to do the ranking.
And that game went so long that they basically had 4 minutes to do a ranking show and was like, here you go, here's a 25. All right, see you later.
Yeah, it's a quicker ranking release. Man, Oregon and UP had this, and so did Kansas, Kentucky, and you could also throw Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, Michigan State in this. The halftime scores are like 30-23.
Yeah, 31-23 was the score Portland and Oregon last night.
Look, I'm watching more college hoops this year than I have in a long time. It is... God, it's bad.
It's really bad.
It is such bad basketball.
It's really bad.
Oregon had 23 points in the first half against the Pilots.
They shot 22% from 3. 22%. I mean, that was fire Chauncey Billups bad the other night. When you're at that low, that's how you almost lose to the University of Portland, when you shoot 22% from 3.
The over-under was 151 last night.
Was it really?
Yeah, they totally hit the under. But at I think one point in the third quarter, I live betted it a 131.5 and went under because the halftime score was so low, and of course they
almost hit the over though.
No, they really got close. Yeah, but with overtime.
Yeah, you had 16 combined points in overtime. The Pilots only scored 3 points in OT. What happened to the Pilots' offense? Where did they go?
I think they've reverted back to.
I just read you how they lost the game. I think it was demoralizing, and I
don't
think they could
regroup.
operate.
Where was Swag on the sideline, getting the guys fired up?
Standing up,
Here's
going
the
Mike
situation.
Parker.
Yeah, start banging on the table, Swigard. What are we doing?
Well, there's a little controversy at the end of the game, at least going into the end of regulation.
Did you watch this whole thing, Schultz?
I watched the second half.
Okay.
I was flipping back and forth between the Blazers.
The end of regulation was wild.
Yeah, it was.
Again, I still don't know how they lost this game.
Well, so there were no timeouts, but the Pilots coach, they thought that there was a foul by Oregon, kind of one of their players like hitting a Pilot in the face, and with no timeouts, if you challenge that, then you give up a technical, and that would have been an extra point.
So they couldn't challenge it.
The referees did not make the Pilots coach use his challenge or use a challenge. It was just, all right, we're going to review this, but it was after the Pilots coach talked to him.
The eye in the sky came in and said,
30 seconds. Yeah, it was a little controversial.
Using a timeout when you don't have one, we call that an Eric Spoelstra.
We do. With Jalen Rose in attendance, too. The irony there. What are the chances he's in town for that moment?
We're forgiving Chris Webber for that, like from 30 years ago?
Yeah, is he now off the hook?
Yeah,
it's like the Dan Orlovsky. Other guys have run out of the back of the end zone, so it's no longer the Dan Orlovsky. Is that what we're going to do? I did see the quote from Dana Altman after the game.
What'd he say?
He said, "Believe me, I am happy we won, but I would have been unbelievably miserable had we lost. Now I'm just miserable."
Yeah.
That was his quote.
That's a miserable win.
And I did
He
see.
was not happy during the game.
I'd imagine what that locker room was like.
not
It was
fun.
not celebration.
No, you shot 22% from three. You should have lost to the Pilots. Like, that's embarrassing.
That would have been bad.
I did see, though, and I think we need to call this out. Now, I'm not the biggest college basketball guy on the planet. I think that's been evident if you've listened to the show for the better part of a decade. There's somebody out there who exclusively covers college basketball, and he sends out a tweet when something good happens from my team that my fan base loves. And that is John Rothstein. Every time Oregon wins a big game, you get the Dana Altman is his name, and he aligns Rubik's Cubes. He sent this out after the game last night.
Really?
He sent one of these after winning an overtime game against the Pilots. And I love my guy, Dana Altman. I'm burning my knees. He's great. He's taking us to the tournament more often than not.
He's your
got a
all-time
Final
greatest
Four.
coach.
He is amazing. I love Dana Altman, and any criticism I will not stand for.
Right.
You don't send that tweet after
No, you don't
overtime
send
went
that
over.
at
That's
all.
not
No.
that's a hey, you beat a ranked team, or hey, you blew somebody out, or look how good you look. When you should have lost to the University of Portland, you're not aligning Rubik's Cubes after that game.
No, you're certainly not. I did see Cooper Flagg choke away the Duke game.
He did. That was not good at the end from old Cooper Flagg.
You know, he didn't have a good game. His stats look pretty impressive, but he didn't shoot the ball very efficiently. He struggled a little bit, had two massive turnovers at the end that gave Kentucky the win.
They had the ball there at the end. He just dribbled it, basically just ran out of bounds, essentially.
We also need to remember he's 19 years old. Actually, I think did he reclassify? I think he might be 18.
he was a reclassify guy,
So
if
I
I'm not
think he's
mistaken.
18 years old. Like this cat's like, he's a baby.
Our defensive future Blazer, Cooper Flagg, is already going down.
I mean, he had a bad game, and he finished like 26-12. That was his bad game.
Drop out of the number one overall.
Yeah, again, I don't know. I'm not taking him number one overall pick. I'm glad the Blazers won last night. I don't want Cooper Flagg anymore.
Leon Ace Bailey.
He doesn't have his clutch gene, man. He can't get the job done when it matters most.
Schultz, to go back to what you said earlier.
He is 17 years old, by the way.
Yeah, he reclassified.
He does not turn 18 until December 21st. He's over a month away from turning 18.
Can't even vote yet? Can't even
No.
smoke cigarettes?
Could not
Dude
vote.
is a kid.
Could not vote.
I actually would make the argument, as bad as the Weber one was, in the moment of what that game was, it is far more egregious for the coach to be calling a timeout with no timeouts than a 19 to 20-year-old player in a big game pressure spot.
But also, like, the disrespect you just threw at the NBA Cup. Many people arguing last night. NBA Cup, Final Four.
Dude, I was right there with it.
Either way, I don't. What's the bigger game to you? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
I think I'm going to the Blazer game tonight.
Are you really?
They're going to get housed.
Is this another Cup game?
No, I don't think it is. I think it's like a cup, no cup, cup, no cup.
Yeah, that's how they.
It's a weird schedule.
Do we
like
get the gray floor again, or are they back to the original
I think they're
floor?
back to the OG.
It's not
Okay,
a cup.
okay.
It's not a cup game, so it's the gray floor.
I kind of liked the floor. I got to be honest with you. I was mesmerized by the gray roses.
My wife liked it.
It wasn't bad.
My wife hated it.
Really?
I was like, you don't like the roses? She's like, it's gray.
That's what my wife walked in the room and said, "What the hell do they do with their floor?" I was like, "Well, it's this thing. It's called the In-Season Cup, and
Well,
it's
and
a
it was
champion,
it was the in-season tournament last year. Now it's the NBA Cup. So
NBA Cup.
We've come up with a name for it.
Yes, we have a new lingo. It flows off the tongue better. The NBA Cup,
Yesterday was literally the first time I heard that. So
Cup fever.
brought to you by
The Ducks barely beating the Portland Pilots at home is a miserable win. True or false at Dirt and Sprague?
Yeah, pretty miserable right there. Like, I still think they're going to be pretty good based on what? I don't know, just Dana Altman. But that was I feel like they have one of these every year, and usually they end up kind of
a couple of these where it's like that
what?
team really?
You just no show. I mean, you're playing the Pilots. The Pilots lost by 40 in their last game. You roll into the arena. You think you're going to win the game by 25. Next thing you know, you look up, you're in a dogfight.
You're not making any threes.
No,
and you're like, oh crap.
Pilots couldn't miss in the first half of the game. Got off to a good start in the second half.
That was the T-Wolves last night. It was like, we don't have it. Blazers are up. All right, we're coming back. No, Blazers hit a shot. Okay, we're down. And then eventually
shot 56% from three. Like, hey, you're going to win a lot of games when you do that.
7 Blazers in double figures was like,
most from the bench.
Yeah.
We'll get to them. I want to get to them, actually. I want to start the show with some cup fever. I got the cup fever yesterday. My temperature's going through the roof.
I'll hit you in the cup.
Really?
I'll hit your cup.
Cup check?
I'll cup check you.
I love the
You
cup
got your
check.
cup on, Schulte? You got your cup on over there?
No, I forgot it.
No, but he is wearing clothes that cover his dong, so he heard me talk about Swag's unit yesterday.
We're already upgraded from where we were yesterday morning.
Yeah, we
don't have to see a bulge. No bulge from Schulte this morning.
There will be no Micah McDonald on today's program. No.
You don't say.
Hell no.
You know, I think we set the tone for that pilot performance with all that conversation.
I think we did. I think he was riding high. He thought his dong had a good voice. Man.
Everybody's looking at me tonight. Or you, I should say.
Well, it's a loaded show. Josh Pate with a hot take yesterday.
Woo!
Ohio State ahead of Oregon.
I don't think it's that hot of a take. It's a power rating. Like, if they played today, Ohio State would be they would be favored over Oregon.
But I want to fact check that. I know he's a FanDuel relationship.
They would be if they played in Indianapolis right now.
You think Ohio State would be favored over Oregon?
Without a doubt.
Really?
Without a doubt.
I've been seeing whispers.
It's not even a debate. They would be
even a debate.
Either a point and a half. Point and a half. I mean, it's essentially a pick 'em, but on a neutral field,
I think there's a debate.
Yeah, but there is. I will bet you however much money you want to bet that Ohio State will be.
Why are you so aggressive on college football?
Will be favored ahead of Oregon.
You watch too much.
Well,
you come in and you know everything, and any pushback, you get so aggressive. I will bet you my life.
I'll bet my house on this. No, this is Connolly has him number 1 as well in his S&P Plus model.
I don't get it, man.
Because it's based on favorability.
I know.
Oregon was favored by 10 over Washington last year in the Pac-12 title game. So believe what you want. Point spreads mean nothing. I don't think it means that Ohio State's a better team than Oregon.
I was just surprised.
But they will be favored ahead of them if they meet in Indianapolis.
Well, we'll get to all the anger of the College Football Playoff Committee ranking. We got a lot of audio to get to. NFL zigger-zag. Let's start. I got cup fever. It's spiking right now. We'll talk about it next on The Van.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. I'm on your side. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Dirt, I know we sit about, 6 feet apart?
Yeah.
I don't think you can reach me, but if you check my temperature on my forehead, you're going to feel how warm I am. I got cup fever spiking right now.
Feeling hot over there?
Is that a fart?
I am.
How's that?
One of our P1s tweeted us, said, are you really giving Cooper Flagg a pass for being 18? You're joking, right? Here are the last number 1 picks since 2019. Zion, Anthony Edwards, Cade Cunningham, Banchero, Wembayama, and Risache. Where would you rank Cooper Flagg in these? One, Risache has played like 9 games, so I don't know.
I had never seen him play basketball before.
Wemby's probably the best player of this total group. Zion's been nothing but a disappointment.
Yeah.
And Edwards finally broke through last year, and he's fun and exciting. Cade Cunningham's having a good year. The Pistons still suck. And Banchero is, it seems, taking a step. I don't know. It's not about giving a pass. It's just, it's a game. He's 17.
I mean, the guy has played, 4 games in college?
And
How many
that's kind
games
of
has
what I'm
Duke
saying.
played?
It's like, what if
really
Duke
doing
wins
that
the
already?
ACC and he averages like 18 and 14?
I mean, he's averaging 19 and 10 on the year. They have played 3 games this season.
I just don't think we should be reacting as if he's not worthy of the number 1 pick based on that. And also, as I mentioned, college, the product just sucks. So
Yes.
it's like hard to gauge.
Yeah.
I think some of the pro prospects with what we're seeing in college as it translates to the NBA. But last night, your Portland Trailblazers.
How about those Portland Trailblazers?
They shot the highest percentage from 3 than they have in the last 5 years.
I'd be willing to bet they haven't done that in 25 years. They shot 56% from 3.
At one point, they were shooting 66%.
That is the funniest pendulum swing I think I've ever seen in Blazer history. What were they the night before or the game before, I
They
should
only
say?
hit 4.
4 for
right?
like
12%
40,
or
right? Or
something?
wasn't it
Yeah,
something along those lines?
It was low.
I mean, they hit 4 in the first 90 seconds of the game. It was absolutely bananas.
Should we have seen that pendulum
Probably.
swing coming?
I wouldn't have told you 56%, but I can
Sure.
tell you there was going to be a regress to the mean or a rise to the mean, if you will, of where they've been most of the year.
The other part of that, too, is when you play these back-to-backs, these home and homes, they play the T-Wolves 3 times in 4 games. You tend to get that split.
Yeah.
Now, we definitely chose wrong last night of saying Portland's not going to win.
That was the only negative out of the night for me was they cost me money with that performance.
I hammered the T-Wolves this morning. They are not beating the T-Wolves twice.
We're doubling down. We're dipping
Chelsea,
the chip
pull this.
again.
Pull this for the open. They are not beating the T-Wolves 2 nights in a row. Pull that for the open tomorrow.
If they do,
I'm gonna follow you on that. I'll bet it.
They're 9-point favorites again.
I feel like I just touched the stove and it was hot. Now you're asking me to touch the stove again. I don't know if I feel confident about this.
Memphis-
I should, but I don't know.
Memphis was only favored by 1 against Portland, and then they beat them down. So
Yeah, they beat him by 40.
Well, here's the thing. I am not going to allow. Can we please just for this day keep the whole tanking and you cost yourself a ping pong ball out of this? Last night, I think the takeaway for me was Ant got hurt. He had a weird chest thing. That was bizarre.
Yeah.
I was actually terrified he was going to collapse. He just got down, crouched down left, didn't come back, chest thing. They didn't give us a description of what it was. Jeremy didn't shoot very well, and DA didn't play. Last night was the baby Blazers. It largely was. It was Scoot, who, he had some moments. You're like, oh, what are you doing? But, largely shot the ball efficiently, did what he needed to do, had an incredible layup at the end to kind of ice it.
Dude, that highlight at the end was nuts. Running down the shot clock,
Yeah.
the reverse layup, and the and one, the flex on the floor. That was dope.
Shaden didn't start well. I think he started 1 of 5. He finished 7 of 15, so that didn't, deter him from not shooting anymore. Tamani was really stinking good for them. Donovan, turns out he can't play 20 minutes. Played 21 minutes last night. I think overall my takeaway was they housed the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they probably won't house the Minnesota Timberwolves again. They did that largely with the baby Blazers. Denny Avdia had his best game.
He did.
As a Blazer last night. So, the ping pong ball stuff, it looms in the background. For me, it was just like, hey, you saw some of these young pieces have themselves a night.
I might shock you here. I agree 100%. That was a lot of fun, man. That was a lot of fun. My ping pong ball problem comes when it is veterans who are not a part of the long-term plan are winning you games.
Gotcha.
When I have to watch DeAndre Ayton and Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant play basically the entire fourth quarter, get all the clutch time minutes, and find a way to win. It's like, great, now you're screwing the young guys by not playing them, and you're screwing your future by not getting a ping pong ball. Those wins mean literally nothing to me. Last night was awesome because we got a glimpse of it. And I don't ever want to see somebody get hurt. But having Anthony Simons out of that game was a lot of fun, and that might be offensive to some people, but getting to see Scoot and Shaden run and watch them play, they were both amazing last night, man.
I think that's what you would say more so. It's not.
I don't want him to get hurt. Of course, I don't want him to get hurt. Of course, I want him to be okay.
5 minutes and
played 5 minutes, and he was gone. Who else wasn't in the starting lineup last night? DeAndre Ayton.
Didn't miss him.
Donovan Clingan was the starting center last night. I turned the game on. I'd kind of forgotten throughout the course of the day that he wasn't going to play or that he was questionable or whatever.
Well, I think he was questionable going in, and they announced an hour or whatever before that he was out.
And I totally missed that. So I turned the game on. I'm like, all right, Blazers, let's get our cut fever on. Here comes the game. And they're announcing Donovan Clingan as the starting center. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually happening. This is great. This is awesome. He can play 20 minutes. He did. Have we checked? Has he collapsed yet? Is he okay? Did he survive his 20 minutes last night?
He's not broken.
He's not broken?
As far as we know.
Okay, I just wanted to double check on that.
He did look exhausted by the end of it.
It's all right. And he actually wasn't that good last night. He committed a lot of fouls, and he wasn't that effective. But I don't care. I want him to play 20 minutes a night because he's a rookie. That was a game 10 out of 10, no notes, man. All the young guys were awesome. Scoot and Shaden were awesome. Getting to see Clingan in the starting lineup was great. You mentioned Kamara knocking down a bunch of threes and playing good defense. Avdia hit the big buzzer beater at the end of the third quarter, got the crowd going. That felt like the first time, I would argue. Now, I didn't see a lot of games in the second half of the year last year, so you might be like, well, actually, Dirt, they beat blah, 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 blah in April.
I don't remember those games either.
That felt like the only other game in the last 2 years that I can think of atmosphere-wise that was like that was the Dame return game last year. That you won, and, big shots. Oh, look at that. They beat Dame. Okay, thank you, Dame. That was at least a fired-up crowd. Scoot having that moment with the and one, the flex, everybody kind of standing up and cheering. That was one of the coolest moments he's had in a Blazer uniform, man. That was a really fun night.
I can't put my finger on it, but I want to carry something over that I noticed about this game last night and a couple other notes, and then we'll get to NFL zigger-zag. I promise you, we're going to dive into the college football playoff ranking. Everybody's hot and bothered. Josh Pate's going to join us at 7:40. We will get to a lot of college football. Zigger-zag at 45. A couple more carryover observations I want to get to coming up next, but first, Schultz with a sports update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Langdon Farms Golf Club. Good or bad weather, the golf course is always the driest around. Download the Langdon Farms app today to get all the latest news and specials. First on the Fan, the second college football playoff bracket of the season was released last night. Oregon still sitting at number 1 after their win over Maryland, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, and Indiana rounding out the rest of the top 5. And at this point, the Ducks facing off against the winner of the 8-9 matchup. Right now, that's Notre Dame and Tennessee. Nothing, of course, set, though, until the final bracket released on December 8th. Elsewhere in the NFL, former Ducks defensive back Deommodore Lenoir signing a 5-year, $92 million extension with the San Francisco 49ers. He's got 2 interceptions and a blocked field goal so far this season. In the association, the Portland Trailblazers smacking the Timberwolves in their first NBA Cup game of the season. 122-108 the final. Jeremy Grant leading the way with 21 points. Robert Williams adding 19 off the bench. 7 Blazers finishing in double figures overall. They'll face off against the Timberwolves again tonight in the second of a back-to-back at Moda Center. And on the college hardwood, the Oregon Ducks surviving a great effort from the Portland Pilots. They still do get the 80-70 win in overtime down at Mac Court. The Pilots led by 11 twice in the second half, but Keyshawn Bartholomew scoring 10 of the final. Ducks 15 points to send the game to OT. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultz at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Do it every morning. Dirt and Sprague. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
We'll get to NFL zigger-zag coming up at 6:45. Dirt with a observation. How do we not trade Robert Williams this morning? He was amazing for them last night.
Right now, what's the offer? What offer is on the table now?
That is one thing that really frustrates me is seeing Ayton, seeing Grant, seeing Anthony Simons, Robert Williams on the roster. Those are all pieces that were supposed to be able to help Damian Lillard, and they're just sitting here and
waiting to be.
Yeah, I would say in Blazers purgatory, essentially. So why would Jeremy Grant want to show up? Why would Anthony Simons want to be mentally present?
You want a crazy stat on that, by the way, last night? So he had 19 points. 9 rebounds.
I omitted him from talking about how they won.
Because that was basically about the baby Blazers. He was awesome. 19 points, 9 rebounds, 3 steals, 3 blocks. He was 9 of 10 from the floor.
Mm-hmm.
He became the first bench player with 15 points, 3 steals, and 3 blocks in a game on 90% shooting since James Worthy in 1983.
Look, if he was a healthy player, he wouldn't have been traded by Boston, but it's really a shame he can't. So far his career is that he can't stay healthy because when he is, you don't get this every game, but you get close to this.
He's an unbelievable player. When healthy.
His effort, how aware he is on defense. He's an amazing player. So it's like talking about trading him isn't something I'm like, oh, I don't like him. I love Robert Williams. I just get weary. He left that game twice last night when they thought he was injured, and then he came back, and I'm like, ugh. So I'm like sitting here stuck, and I largely agree with what you said. My only, I guess, difference, Schultze, would be the one vet that I actually don't mind if he hangs around because I don't think he cares about winning and losing. Hot take. I like having Jeremy with them. I'm okay with having, like, they had a moment where it was Scoot, Shaden, Tamani, Jeremy, and Donovan last night. That group looked great. And I liked having a little bit of that veteran seasoning amongst those baby Blazers and then watching them kind of figure that out together in those short spurts. So he's the only one that I'd be willing to say, like, yeah, I'm not in a rush to trade him. He seems like he just wants to vibe in Portland and getting paid a lot of money. And
the food scene's great, man.
Our food scene's great, and he's famous, and he's got IG followers, and he's living a great life. I don't begrudge him at all for deciding to do what he wants to do. It's kind of the other ones. And the thing that is looming with them, too, that I find odd, and he finally had a good game, the Tamani-Denny thing.
Yeah.
You could certainly make an argument it's never a bad thing to have multiple 6'7" to 6'9" guys on your roster. I wouldn't disagree with that, but it is an interesting fit with them and how that is going forward. But a good performance nonetheless. They beat the T-Wolves. Lots of upsets in Cup play last night. I don't know if you're following.
Were there lots of upsets?
The Blazers beat the T-Wolves.
Well, that I know. I did watch that game.
I bet your bracket's busted with that one.
Yes, it is. Well, though this isn't over, though, right? It's just group play.
It's group play.
So my bracket can't technically be busted yet.
It's
on the verge of being busted, but it's not fully busted.
The Hawks beat Boston in Boston.
That's a bit of an upset.
They were like 10.5-point underdogs. And the Heat lost to the Pistons.
You know what they say about the NBA Cup? You throw the records out the window.
Yes, you do.
When it's cup time.
Yes,
you just throw those. The records don't matter, okay? It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. You throw the records out the window.
What if the Blazers win the Blazers or win the NBA Cup, and then Chauncey is literally touting his Blazers time as well? I won an NBA Cup, you know?
I got a cup. How many coaches can say they have a cup?
One, and he's not.
Darvin Ham,
right
he got
now.
fired.
And he got fired. Well, I guess the Chauncey maybe doesn't.
Cup, he got fired.
Maybe he doesn't want to win the cup. Don't win the cup, Chauncey.
Not the right banner you want to hang.
Wrong banner, buddy. Wrong banner.
Look, we joke about the cup. I did watch a lot of the cup. It's not any different, I think, my opinion, this year than it was last year. Is it gimmicky? Absolutely. Do most people care? Not at all. It's a fun little, like, yo, your court's bright-ass blue. Why is that? Why is there a weird trophy in the middle? I kind of like the vibe. It's different. It's weird. It doesn't matter.
You have to change the pace in the regular season. You just do. The regular season's too long. There's too many games that don't matter. Everybody is checked out, and you can't tell you what's going on any given night on a Wednesday night in the NBA. in November, especially this time of year when we're so engrossed in football. You got to do something that's going to cut through. And most people just look at it and laugh. I think the courts are a little ridiculous, a little over the top, and a little unnecessary.
So did we universally on this show, did we like that court for Portland?
Considering what else was out there, yes. Like, if I just saw that, I don't know if I'd be like, ooh, I love that. But based on what was going on in other markets in the NBA, it was a lot better than what some of the other cities had.
I would say but compared to last year's Blazers Cup court.
What was the one? What did it look like last year?
Red.
It was bright red.
Yeah,
that's
it
right.
just was kind of unsightly.
Like
Did
the
you see
Detroit
Boston's?
No, I didn't
bright
see
ass
Boston.
green.
Yet see that
What are we doing? The Detroit one should be burned. Throw that in a wood chipper
that
now.
blue, man.
That's just too much blue.
One of our listeners sent us the Jerry Kramer thing. When he opens it, and he's next to the fried chicken, and it's a bright red, except it was blue. And it was like, what's going on in there? Kramer's like, it's the NBA Cup.
It's the cup, Jerry. It's the cup.
good.
Yeah, Celtics floor. Holy hell, that is a green floor.
You can't, with bright lights shining on an NBA arena floor, then put like a bright-ass neon color. Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, make them white. The gray was fine. Like, I'm okay with that. It almost deters from the product for me when it's like watching a Boise State game. Like, eventually I'm going to get a headache, and you shouldn't have blue turf.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel watching some of these teams in the NBA Cup.
You know, I saw a highlight randomly over the weekend, and the Boise thing I'm so used to now, it doesn't have that effect on me.
Yeah.
A school that did, Eastern Washington's Redfield.
Yeah, that one's
It's mesmerizing.
way over the top.
And the other thing I'd say about that court, I liked the Roses design. I liked this court a lot better than the last year Cup court. I also found myself multiple possessions not following the ball and the players. I just couldn't stop staring at the court. And then I'm like, wait, who scored there? What happened? I got into a trance. It was a very weird... Did anybody else have
I think you were hypnotized last night,
Yeah,
man. I think Adam Silver hypnotized you.
He kinda did.
What did you buy? Did you buy any like NBA? Did you buy one of those like virtual reality NBA goggles? What did he hypnotize you to get?
You get like a half-season ticket package.
I think you
for the
did. You're going to get
Blazers or
something in the mail in the next 2 weeks. You're going to be like, wait, what? When did we get this? What
I
happened?
might have got a Cup T-shirt last night.
Yeah, baby.
They gave out the Donovan Clingan Cup.
They did what? Oh,
The glass cup.
Yeah. The Dairy. I was like, what? They gave away his cup.
He's going to hoist that trophy.
He was wearing a cup. All right.
I'll put it in another way. The floor for the Blazers Cup was better than the jerseys. Can't stand the red jersey with
What?
just the if it's
Really?
if it's so
Really?
simple with just the pinwheel.
See, I like them when they're simple.
And
like
then
the red on
nothing
red.
else.
Remember when we dressed like the state of Oregon? Remember that?
No,
Remember
that
when we had
sucks.
that one?
But this looks like
Or not the state of Oregon, but you know what I'm
brown?
saying. The brown. That said
Yeah.
Oregon
Forgive
across
him
the
for
front.
that.
yeah,
That was
the
terrible.
puke brown. No, but this looks like a 12th 12th grade or even like a 13 or 14-year-old like AAU team or something.
That's
It's just
fair,
like,
but at least we weren't wearing carpet jerseys.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
stop it. You know I
Yes.
like the carpet jersey.
I
You're
know,
going to
you
set
and a
me
lot of
off this
people
morning?
Yes.
I almost wore my Portland Trail Blazers
I know
carpet
you did.
shorts.
God, Schulte, don't
My
do
hottest
it.
take is those are awful uniforms. We just
do it.
lie to
You guys
ourselves
are
like,
so
we like our airport.
Yeah.
Didn't
And
we-
it's teal, so shut up.
Remember we had teal jerseys and a red key? Remember that? The paint was red
I
on
do.
the floor, but our jerseys were teal, and it looked like we were playing on somebody else's floor.
No, it looked hot.
Dude, when do we get Multnomah Falls or Haystack Rock or a Crater Lake uniform? When am I going to get those in my
yeah,
life?
that's a good point. I want those.
We got some great scenery in our state. When do we get those things?
What about Crater Lake? Beautiful Crater Lake.
I
huh?
love Crater Lake.
Throw a big hole on that jersey.
If you crap on Crater Lake, you're not welcome on this show.
That's
No, what-
right. Nobody would ever do that.
What if the colors were the same as the Crater Lake license plate? There you go.
I actually like that license plate.
Yeah.
It's not a bad look.
Very random note. We'll get to NFL zigger-zag. I don't know if you guys ever register into this category. I dabble in it. John Krasinski named People Magazine's sexiest man alive. Very polarizing decision by them
Why was that polarizing?
because Glenn Powell exists.
Ah, yeah.
I mean, Glenn Powell's a good-looking guy. Are we trying to argue John Krasinski's not a good-looking guy?
that dude's
been
around
yoked.
a lot longer, though. I feel like he would have been up for it by now.
Glenn Powell is...
Is he better looking than John
Oh, God,
Krasinski?
yeah.
Dude, Glenn Powell will make you question everything
Really?
about your sexuality.
Really?
I
mean, that is Oregon Duck legend Glenn Powell, so maybe I should be more familiar with his
That
looks.
was the most jealous of the McAfee show I've ever been was yesterday. He called Glenn Powell live on the air because reportedly Tom Cruise wants Glenn Powell to overtake the Mission Impossible franchise. Ooh. And he called him live on the air to confirm, and he basically wouldn't confirm it, but he confirmed it. Does that make sense?
That kind of makes sense.
And I'm just like, this dude just has Glenn Powell on his phone, calls him on the air and says, "Are you going to be the next Ethan Hunt?"
I mean, he's already done a movie with Sydney Sweeney, so I think the Sexiest Man Alive award should just kind of be like, all right, check off, and
Dude,
then, yeah.
I'm going to defend John Krasinski
No,
here.
John Krasinski's
He's a
not a
hottie.
bad-looking guy.
Yeah.
but
I mean, he's got a bigger
sexiest man.
nose. There's a bigger schnoz there for Krasinski than Glenn
Bigger
Powell
ears,
has.
bigger nose,
Bigger ears.
yeah.
I would argue, though, now, to be fair, I have not seen many Glenn Powell movies. So,
Really?
you know me. I'm not a big movie guy.
There's a good one on Netflix where he is a he's basically pretending to be a murder for hire guy.
Yeah, like a hitman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's a
the
good
Hitman,
one.
I think, is what it's
a
called.
comedy.
It's a good movie.
I feel like John Krasinski is buffer than Glenn Powell. Am I
Yes.
wrong on that?
no.
No,
Okay.
because he's been doing Jack Ryan stuff.
He's been Jack
So,
Ryan
yeah,
for a
yeah,
while.
yeah.
Like, he's yoked in that show.
I think he's a bigger dude.
He's
too.
a tall
Like,
guy.
taller,
And
yeah,
also the
6'4".
glow up. Like, if I showed you John Krasinski in season 1 of The Office
Oh, for sure.
and told you eventually this guy's going to be named the sexiest man alive, you'd probably laugh at
That
me.
gives everybody out there hope, doesn't it?
It does. So, you know what? I'm all for John Krasinski getting that award. Also seems like a good dude.
Seems like a good dude. Is this the most underrated, greatest achievement you could have in your life as a human being?
That'd be
one of
pretty
them.
badass, yeah.
Yeah.
No matter what you think
kidding
about
me?
yourself, you become so famous and good.
Somebody
that,
names you that, get an email. Hey, by the way, Dirt, we're going to name you sexiest man alive. What?
dude, the internet would be lit on fire if I got named
Just me.
sexiest man alive.
Hands over the back of my head, shirt off,
There are people.
chesticles out. Hey, boys.
There are people that have cups of coffee in Major League Baseball, play one game in the NBA, and that's like the pinnacle of their lives.
Yeah.
And it is nothing compared to winning Sexiest Man Alive. So
Look,
no.
in
Oh,
the
that's
way-
a good question. Would you rather make it to the big leagues or be sexiest man alive?
Yeah.
sexiest man alive.
You would?
Ditto.
I would love to be an NBA player for one game.
One game. I give you NBA Sprague.
I know.
You get a trading card. You get a jersey. You can hang your jersey. You get it. You could jersey swap with somebody.
Dude, how many sexiest
You're playing
men
the
alive have
Lakers. You just
existed?
jersey swap LeBron James. You're swapping with LeBron.
And see the whole
I think
Sexiest Man
LeBron's saying,
Alive.
"Who are you? Get out of here."
Nah, you're in the NBA. He knows who you are.
I'm jersey swapping with Bronny.
Well, he's in the G League. He's not there anymore.
But the Sexiest Man Alive award is very it's subjective, excuse me. It's not even like the sexiest. It's like, hey, there's 4 people hand-picking 5 dudes and
Yeah.
deciding, and it doesn't really have anything to do with anything other than how popular they are at the
The
time.
Rock
I feel
won it, and
like.
people were like, "Ew," and I'm like, "Jesus, dude! Like, what's the
Well, he's
qualifications
not. He's
for this?"
He's a
he's not sexy.
stud, but he's not
Really?
sexy.
He's buff. He's not
Yeah.
sexy.
He's what I would call like a stud. Like he's big. He can do anything you need him to do.
When does
and
he go away?
He's all right.
When do we get? When do
He's
we?
got a Christmas movie coming out.
He does.
No,
It's not going to be great.
Like when do
It's
we
got
get?
Captain America in it, though.
When are we at our capacity for The Rock in society?
I'm more.
I think
excited.
we're there with Kevin Hart. Is he doing anything?
I don't know. I can't remember the last Kevin Hart movie that came out.
I'm more excited about the Hallmark Kansas City Chiefs Christmas movie coming out.
I'm
this
jealous.
season.
Our media members in Kansas City are getting invites to the special screening of
Are
this
they
holiday movie.
really?
Yeah.
When it comes out?
I'm jealous.
God, when that comes on, my wife is definitely going to watch that movie,
I will
and
too.
I am going to hate the Chiefs even more. Like, not only am I now being forced to watch a Hallmark movie, which I am every holiday season about Christmas, now it's based around the Kansas City Chiefs.
Trust treeing. We've had Hallmark movies playing probably nonstop in our house for a week already. Christmas
week?
movies. Oh yeah.
Coincidentally, I wonder what happened.
Yeah, what happened?
We have a loaded show going on. We got Josh Pate in the second hour. We'll get to the college football playoff rankings coming up next. NFL zigger-zag on the Fan.
Check out the Fan Merch Locker. on 1080 The Fan.
All right, we got to whiz through NFL zigger-zag, sadly. I put the poll question up at Dirt and Sprague. What would you rather have, be named sexiest man alive or one game as a pro athlete?
One of our P1s bringing up a great point. This is Jesse Palmer. He's a great-looking dude.
I think he played like 4 or 5 seasons.
He got a cup of coffee in the NFL.
Yeah, that's not one game, though.
Yeah, it's true. That is very true.
Let's get to NFL zigger-zag.
All right,
Schultze,
we'll go quick.
We got some music.
Quick zigger-zag. I'm ready. I'm zigging and I'm zagging today.
Okay. Give me just a second. We need them. I need my music.
Yeah, if you don't have
me, I'm a diva.
We can't have your intro music. It's just not the same.
No.
Schultz is trying to
find it in the stinking. Sorry, guys, I'll get it.
You sound like Chris Farley as the bus driver in Billy Madison. I'm just gonna sit here and wait.
You just can't do it. There we go.
There we go. Thank you.
Trying to find it.
That's okay.
I don't think this is the NFL zigger-zag music, but that's
No,
okay.
it's not.
Music's
I'm gonna
music.
get- I'm
It's
gonna
all
get it for
right.
you.
Don't worry, Schultze. You're fine.
Let's start with a fascinating quarterback situation here.
What do you got?
At some point, you got to give the guy that you drafted in the top 5 position the opportunity to develop. So I think they have the Jets this week. And I tell Anthony Richardson going into this week, hey, stay ready. Because if this doesn't go the way that you want it to, you're now looking at, 3 straight losses? Get your quarterback some reps.
The Colts have swapped out Richardson for Flacco. It has not gone well. Dirt zigger-zag, it would be a very bad look for Shane Steichen
There we go.
as a head coach to switch quarterbacks again.
I'll zig on that, but it's also the right call. Like, it's sometimes in life we are wrong, and you have to acknowledge when you've made a mistake. This was a mistake to begin with. The idea that Joe Flacco, because of one random year last year in Cleveland, gives you a chance to win in the playoffs, like, get the hell out of here. You're not building on culture. You're losing games. He's throwing interceptions left and right. That was a horrible performance against Buffalo. Josh Allen was not good at all in that game, and they still scored 30 on you because Flacco threw a pick 6 early in the game.
He threw a couple picks.
He threw a couple of picks in the game. Zig, it's bad look on him as a head coach, but I also don't know how much of that came from him. How much of this is from ownership? How much of it's from the GM? It's hard to decipher these behind the scenes. Anthony Richardson should be their starting quarterback.
To Denver, where Bo Nix was seen on the sideline eating a snack during his latest game, and 92.5 Altitude Sports gave their thoughts on that snack.
Was the Rice Krispie treat, was that of the pre-packaged variety, or was that homemade?
I seriously almost bought of them to bring in for you and me today. I was at Target earlier. I was so close to buying some.
I need to know. I'm glad you didn't, because I don't care for the pre-packaged Rice Krispie treat.
Oh, you need the fresh one?
I need it made in a kitchen, because I need more marshmallow fluff, and I need more butter.
Have you had the Cocoa Crispy version of it?
I mean, I've had Cocoa Crispy Rice Krispies, but again, I'm anti-prepackaged.
Dirt zigger-zag, the only good Rice Krispie treat is homemade.
I'm zagging on that. Now, I prefer a homemade Rice Krispie. Like, that's not a bad take. But the idea that you would need a prepackaged Rice Krispie treat, one of the most underrated snacks available on the market. My wife does make Rice Krispie treat snacks every year.
Is she good at them?
She's fantastic at them.
Really?
And usually there's like a theme, so we'll do like sprinkles for a duck game or something. You get green and yellow sprinkles on it.
Did you do the Christmas crispy
Oh,
ones?
you get the Christmas crispy ones. You
Braves
bet your
might need
ass.
to try
It's
these.
full on marshmallows in the middle. Delightful. But if you give me a prepackaged Rice Krispie treat, I'm not snuffing my nose at you.
They're
Oh, yeah.
actually really good out of the package because they're still soft.
But
Yeah.
homemade is
Homemade's better.
substantially
Agreed.
It's like when you have a homemade chocolate chip cookie. It's like, oh, it's warm and it's melting in your mouth, and that feels great, but I'm not going to turn down a regular chocolate chip cookie.
Might need you to tell your wife, get in the kitchen, make Sprague some of these Christmas crispy treats.
I'm going to no comment that.
I need some, man. It sounds delicious. Let's go to Chicago, where a dear friend of ours popped up to give his thoughts on a certain someone.
I mean, he's a nice guy. He's not a jerk. He's not an a-hole. He's just in way over his head. He doesn't exude confidence whatsoever. He has no personality at all. He doesn't command a room. Caleb Williams, I don't know how he's been acting in Chicago with you guys, and I can't comment on that. But when he was at USC, he was known as kind of an egomaniac and a little bit of a prima donna, and they needed somebody to come in here and corral that. And if you thought that Waldron was that guy who would, sit down for an interview and stare at the floor or stare over his shoulder and waiting for someone to kind of, save him from whatever interview he was doing, he just didn't have the personality for any of that. So I just, did they even talk to this guy? Did they just see Sean McVay disciple and see and just think that's enough and just hand the guy the gig? I mean, honestly, from my perspective, that made it sound like the Bears just have no damn clue what the hell they're doing when it comes to hiring coaches.
That was Dave Softy Mahler on 670 the score in Chicago yesterday, talking about Shane Waldron. Zigger-zag, the Bears will ruin Caleb Williams.
Zig.
Wow.
I also didn't.
It's going to be a bust.
I mean, I thought that coming into the NFL, I just wasn't sure about his style of play and his size. So I had fears about him coming out of college to begin with. And the Bears have done this with how many quarterbacks, man?
The last 3.
Bad organizations, it's hard to succeed no matter how good or bad you are as a quarterback. There was a report that came out yesterday that some of the players went to the coaching staff and asked for him to be benched and for Tyson Bagent.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's a whole other thing, which tells you there's weird stuff going on in the locker room, and maybe he's not the leader that they thought. Dave Softy Mahler being miserable in life makes me happy, and I'm glad that guy's going through it right now. Should we get his thoughts on Ryan Grubb? What's he think about Ryan Grubb right now? Because that guy is his holy grail. I think he has a Ryan Grubb shrine up in his living room that he prays to every morning when he wakes
John Schneider's the bad guy in
up.
Seattle.
And 3 games into the year, they were all, Ryan Grubb's a genius, man. He's a genius. How you feeling right now?
This is from a Giants fan Twitter account.
Okay.
It's named Fan with a Mic. He is recording watching the Joe Shane press conference yesterday. I don't know if you saw some of the comments from Joe Shane.
I did.
Joe Shane is asked about quarterback regrets, okay? So he was asked, like, hey, do you regret? So I hope you can hear it. I turned it up pretty loud. And then the fan comments on the live press conference. I enjoyed this.
When you look back at just this offseason, do you wish you did anything differently addressing the quarterback position? I mean, I would say specifically Russell Wilson obviously was in here and not pursuing him more aggressively, or just in general, anything you wish you would have done differently?
Stunned! He doesn't know how to answer!
You're talking specifically on the quarterback position? Specifically on the quarterback, yeah. Yeah, I mean, no.
He wants to say yes so badly, but he can't. Look at him! He's struggling so bad with this. Just say yes. Just say he sucks.
Zigger-zag, Joe Shane wishes he could say he regrets how he handled the quarterback position
Zig,
this offseason.
he's going to lose his job because of it. They gave him a contract extension. The guy in his career, he's 27 years old, top 6 pick in the draft. He hasn't had a double-digit touchdown season since 2022. His career high was a rookie, his 24 touchdowns. 70 touchdowns and 47 picks in his career. Look, Deshaun Watson will always win this award. One of the worst, most overreactionary contracts that has ever been handed out in the history of the NFL.
Easily, yes.
And it is because of that deal, he's going to get fired. Their head coach is going to get fired. The fact that it took him this long to acknowledge let's at least try Drew Lock. This dude's doing nothing. He's missing wide open wide receivers. I don't know what took you so long. He's terrible.
Last one. Let's go to Dallas. Jerry Jones on our sister station in Dallas yesterday saying this about the sun impact in the stadium, which is quite the conversation. And then I kept in it everybody in America's response to Jerry Jones, including Cowboy fans. So take a listen.
And it was built to have sunlight coming in every way that you could put it out there as though it were open air.
Shut up about the sun. Shut up about the sun.
Zigger-zag, Jerry Jones, costing his team. He should be putting shades on that stadium.
Zig, absolutely Zig. The funniest part about this, so 2 notes on it. One, when they have concerts at that stadium, they cover up the glass panels. By the way, I've been in that stadium. That stadium is gorgeous, man. It is unbelievable. They cover up the glass panels for concerts, so you'll do it for a concert so it's not in everybody's eyes, but not for a football game when that happens. Mike McCarthy had his press conference on Monday, which happens inside AT&T Stadium, and there was glass windows along the side of the media room, and they had to put a shade up because the sun was glaring in Mike McCarthy's eyes during his press conference.
But trying to catch a touchdown in the end zone, though, we gotta have the natural.
This guy is so miserable and so stubborn that I'm now starting to wonder if he keeps Mike McCarthy. Like, he is going so against the grain and so, like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not in foot. I know what I won 3 Super Bowls 30 years ago. Like, he's dying on that hill. And oh, God, can you imagine if he was your owner right now? No, thank you.
There is NFL Zigger-Zag. We do it every Wednesday at 6:45. Loaded second hour. Let's get it going. College football playoff ranking, hour 2 on the Fan.
So I'm back with you from our friends at Les Schwab Tires. And
Bugs Bunny attractive when he'd put on a dress and play a girl bunny? No. Neither did I. I was just asking.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. Yeah. Didn't we lock you in the dumpster one time?
I got out. With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
That's somebody's daughter up there.
I was just going to say that.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
Dynamite drop-in money and broadcast school has really paid off.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague here on 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and of course, YouTube. Good morning, YouTube.
Hello.
You can reach the show at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the show. They treat you right before, during,
and after the
after
show.
the sale.
Before, during, and after the
They do it during the show, too. If you go there, they do it during the show as well. They're open, and they treat you right. Now, later, forever, and always.
Boy, that's something I could say in my sleep, and then I say it live on air, and I say it wrong. It's unbelievable.
Like, wait, what? How did I screw that one up?
I've said that read in the shower multiple times.
Yeah,
you can reach us at 503-864-6326.
I've said our update wrap up pretty frequently, just like kind of to myself.
It just gets stuck in your
Don't
head
even need
sometimes.
to read it.
Say it so many times.
Vancouver Ford, they're nice. They treat you right.
There you go.
There you go.
There's your new slogan. I
Before
like that.
and after the sale. Did you know that?
I did know that.
We have a lot to get to in the second hour. It's a Josh Pate Wednesday. Pate State University here on Dirt and Sprague at 740.
I want to ask him about conference championships and how do we fix this?
Well, Heather Dinich, who I have audio of, said she just literally talked to an SEC coach who is advocating quite loudly to bring divisions back with these conferences.
And I get the argument. I also think it's a disaster for some.
Why is it a disaster?
Because
you need to not go back to your old divisions. You need to recreate these divisions
Here's
and make
the tough
them
part.
as evenly split as you possibly can.
I think that's totally fine. How often do you redraw them? Because you cannot guarantee me what a team is now. That team's going to be that in 3 years.
Every 3 years, then.
Every 3 years you redraw them?
Because it doesn't change.
I redraw them
your
almost every year based on win-loss coming into the season. Yeah, I think you have to do that. A coach could leave. Look at Florida State.
What would you have
Florida
done?
State going to the ACC this year, they could have been the best team in one division, and then you put Miami in the other one. But if Miami, Clemson, and SMU all end up in one division, but you thought Florida State coming into the year.
What would you done with Michigan this year? Because we didn't think they'd be Michigan from last year, but they won the title, so you wouldn't put them.
They should have always been in a different division than Ohio State so we could get a Michigan-Ohio State Big Ten championship game.
Look, I don't disagree with you. I don't know how they didn't figure that out. They put Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State in
one
the
division.
same division.
Yes, and so Wisconsin and Iowa and Nebraska randomly once could find their way to a Big Ten title game.
It's one of the all-time dumbest ways to set up a division in a conference I've ever seen in my life, and I'm talking from a conference that ceases to exist. What were they doing there?
First ever Pac-12 championship game.
Oregon, UCLA.
Oregon beat 6-6 UCLA.
I covered that UCLA team.
Yeah. Now, the reason UCLA went was because USC wasn't eligible that year.
You want to go to a depressing practice? Go to a 6-6 UCLA practice going into a conference title game where they knew they were going to get housed. I was there. I was in Westwood covering practice. They manufactured a Rick Neuheisel hoisting above the shoulders in their final practice because everybody knew it was done.
Yeah, he was going to get fired.
No matter what happened in that
could have won that
title
game. He was still going to get turfed.
He was out as UCLA coach. It was a weird team to cover for like a week.
That's a strange
I got sent to LA and they're like, hey, go cover UCLA because Oregon State sucked.
Yeah.
So Comcast is like, we're all in on the Ducks. Your Beavers, they blow. Go cover the Bruins. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just driving around LA listening to Christmas music by myself for a week covering UCLA football.
Sounds awesome.
Somebody texted in and said, can we just get rid of conference championship games? Now that we have the playoff, we don't need them. They're antiquated and cash grabs. That's the key part. They're cash grabs. You're not getting rid of them.
You want to get rid of the conference championship
This
game.
listener does. I don't. I mean, if you got rid of them, I wouldn't lose a ton of sleep over it. Like, by the end of the year who the 12 best teams are. Now, deciphering home field advantage and all that would be a little more complicated.
I don't know if you will know by the end of this year who the 12 best teams are.
Well, I think you would by the end of the regular season. I think we will.
So the AP poll comes out before the playoff ranking. The ranking came out yesterday, right?
Comes out Monday. We get the AP poll.
The top 5 are exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Indiana.
Ask yourself why. The funniest thing out of all this is last week, for those who don't remember, Indiana and BYU were ranked behind Tennessee.
They were 8-9.
They were 8-9.
Yeah.
Now they're 5-6 and they're ranked ahead of Tennessee. What did Tennessee do this weekend? played Mississippi State, who's not very good, and won the game 33-14, despite their quarterback getting hurt, and he now might not play this weekend against Georgia, which is a big deal. Indiana played their worst game of the season.
Who'd they beat?
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Who did they beat?
They beat Michigan.
They've beat nobody, though, all season.
What did BYU do this weekend?
Oof. They said a prayer and got out of the holy war.
Can somebody explain to me the logic and why last week BYU was still undefeated with 2 quality wins and didn't need a miracle in the holy war to win it, and Indiana had blown almost everybody out on their schedule. If they had a game within single digits all year, they'd blown everybody out. For the first time all year, they didn't blow a team out, and that then was enough for them to jump a one-loss Tennessee, which ultimately, whatever, you want to rank them ahead of Tennessee, that's fine. What was the difference from last week to this week that made them be ranked higher than Tennessee?
You want my take on it?
Yeah.
So BYU didn't move up that much.
No, they moved up 3 spots.
So, no, they moved up 2.
I think BYU did? I thought they moved up 3.
Oh, in the playoff. I'm sorry.
In the playoff rankings, I think they both moved up 3 because you had 2 teams that lost, and they jumped Tennessee.
If you really want to know my opinion on it, and some people that, the Dave Bartus who study this stuff may say, like, that's not right. I'm going to think it is. I think they heard the noise.
They definitely heard the noise.
This is a reactionary committee with absolute slants and biases. And by the way, whether you like this committee or not, I don't know what poll people lean on. I think the AP actually has it a little more accurate than the College Football Playoff Committee so far early in these ranking comparisons. I just don't know what your alternative is because we're just always going to have bias.
Yeah.
You're not going to find even your local scribes who claim to be not biased are biased.
Should have seen Nick Dashel's Twitter account last night talking about the Oregon UP game caping up for the West Coast Conference.
I mean, yeah, beat writers are now columnists who basically cape up for programs all across the country. It is an impossible task, I think, to not find bias.
I think you're 100% right, though. I think this was all about
the noise.
You cannot live in a bubble and not see social media, radio, television reaction to your rankings. And everybody last week said, wait a minute, why are undefeated BYU and Indiana ranked 8 and 9? Yeah. And their course correction was, okay, well, 2 teams lost. Georgia lost and Miami lost. So you're automatically going to move up 2 slots, you would imagine. And then, what the hell? Let's jump them over. Let's jump them over Tennessee, too, while we're at it, even though Tennessee has a better win than any of them.
This is what we want, right? I mean, expanding
we want
the playoff
controversy, we want conversation, we want, like, hey, how is this all working for everybody?
Yeah, the expansion allows, like, these rankings not necessarily to have to matter in the second iteration of them. They can still, like, put a 1 or 2 loss team in. We're talking about a possible 3-loss SEC team if Georgia loses again going into the top 12. And it's either this or it's a computer. And I'd much rather live in this world with human biases. Like, this isn't referees at a game. This is who's going to be selected to play in the ultimate game of the year. And I would much rather there be opinions and some people not happy because of humans' opinions than a freaking computer. I'm all right with this. And it's hard, even if it's against cupcake opponents. It's hard to win out in college football. It just is.
If you're talking about winning a playoff game to get to a semifinal, so you get past one of the first 4 or the first round buys, I cannot help but think there are multiple teams in this top 12 that are just licking their chops to be an 11-6 and hoping BYU wins.
Hoping that they win.
Because whoever gets to play the Big 12 winner, if they win their opening playoff game, they're going to be favored to go to the semifinal.
Same thing for the ACC, whether it's Miami, Clemson, or SMU. Like, whoever gets to play them will be licking their chops.
I don't think personally that Penn State's that amazing.
No.
I don't agree with them being ranked where they're ranked.
Why are they ranked ahead of Indiana?
Why are they ranked in the top 5? I don't know.
Make it make sense.
0, baby.
Why?
Because they have a loss.
They have a loss.
At home.
That's the whole point.
That's their biggest game.
Indiana is 10-0. Yeah. Penn State's 8-1.
I thought you were asking why Indiana. I flipped.
No, but here's my thing though. I don't think Penn State is this, right? And some Penn State fans may think I'm an idiot and disagree with that. That's fine. If Penn State were to win their opening game, whoever that is, Franklin beats a BYU on the road in the second round of the playoffs and gets to the semifinal. Like,
you're in the Final Four, man.
He's never getting fired.
You're in
and
the
you
Final
can maybe
Four.
argue he's never going to get fired. It's just there are pathways for some of these teams and coaches that know they're not going to win the national championship. You could inject truth serum in their neck like one of the Fockers in Meet the Parents, and you're going to get them on the stage going, yeah, we stand no chance to win a natty. but I get to a semi. Oh, we're amazing.
I'm saving my job, baby.
And that would be James Franklin right now if he could get past Ole Miss, and I don't think he would, but if he could, and then he gets to play at BYU, my God, he's going to be in the semifinal, and he'll be the greatest coach of all time. I want to play this and then carry this over, okay?
All right.
Because we want to talk about this with Josh Pate. This was Heather Dinich. Let me see if I could find where that clip is. Heather Dinich yesterday on Pat McAfee talking about a certain team that even if they lose this weekend, who's currently not in the playoff, never say never about them making the playoff.
I would really hesitate to eliminate a 3-loss SEC team, and that includes if Georgia loses to Tennessee. Yes, I just said that, and here's why. Because in the first 10 years of the college football playoff, there have been 13 3-loss teams ranked in the selection committee's top 10 on selection day. So this has happened before. And if history repeats itself, then you could potentially see a 3-loss SEC team in, but they're not all created equal. Let me make that clear.
Amen.
All 3-loss SEC teams are not created equal.
So Georgia can lose this week, and according to Heather Dinich, and they'll still make the playoff potentially.
I told you.
It's just ridiculous.
I told you.
I'm so tired of the strength of schedule crap. No, you go 2-3 against your ranked opponents, you shouldn't be in.
I love fairy tale Sprague every year in college football, telling yourself this is how it's going to work, right? One loss BYU will be in.
Makes
no
sense.
chance a 3-loss Georgia makes it.
They're
No
not making
chance
it.
an undefeated Florida State gets left out.
Beer bet. They're not making it.
Well, I think they're going to win this weekend, so I think it'll be a moot
I agree
point,
with you, but their quarterback could also throw the game away.
It'll be low scoring and ugly because Tennessee's defense is legitimate.
Let's carry this over. I've got more audio. We have a pissed off SEC honk because of a Big Ten coach. I want to get to that coming up. And just your general thoughts. Oregon is still ranked number 1. Right now, as I look at it, and look, these rankings are not going to stick, they would get the winner of Notre Dame, Tennessee, which, my God, you would be so excited about, I think. So we'll carry that over. How you feel about the playoff ranking that came out. And I got more audio. We got Big Ten versus SEC beef that happened yesterday. That's coming up next on The Fan.
The definitive podcast for Oregon Ducks football. On 1080, The Fan.
Somebody responded to our poll question on being sexiest man alive or pro athlete for one day, and they said, I was nominated as prom prince in 06, so that's basically sexiest man alive. I'll take the pro athlete part.
Hell yeah.
That's a good point. Valid argument.
But that's like high school sexiest man alive.
That's still a pretty cool thing.
No, peaking in high school is not that cool.
Just named sexy in high school?
That's also subjective.
Hey, I peaked in high school. You calm down over there, Schultz.
No, you didn't. You're literally doing this show every day, so I would argue no.
Check my tape, man.
I remember our prom prince, David Jerkins, just a really good-looking cat.
We nominated my left tackle. We kind of did Brent Archer.
He did like the goofy funny thing.
Shout out Brent Archer.
Yeah.
He was our prom king.
We went with actual good-looking
or homecoming king. I don't know who was prom. I remember he was homecoming.
Maybe he was. I guess I don't remember the difference.
I don't remember. Yeah, I'm trying to think of prom. I don't remember much of prom.
Prom,
It was always the hottest lady and his boyfriend. Or her boyfriend, excuse me. So
that sounded weird.
It's 2024, baby.
Swallowing Dutch bros.
Yeah.
That's my guy! We're talking about the college football playoff ranking. Josh Pate's going to join us at 7:40. He's already also setting the table about BYU. Dirt said yesterday he likes to say that I live in this fantasy land, and he's not wrong. I do. I want fairness. That's what I want in this sport.
Well, what is fair? That's the tough part about it. Because you're just I get the argument. I get it. I know.
You cannot fault a BYU.
I can. Their conference sucks.
That's not. They didn't create that, though.
Sucks,
they
didn't
lose. Make that happen.
Somebody's going to get him at some point.
You know what?
Kansas is going to get him this weekend. We can stop having this dumb conversation.
If you want to puff your chest and be and be King Kong about the SEC this, and then you can't get through the SEC unscathed by 3 losses, that's not anybody else's fault but your own. Shut up then. Just shut up. BYU is taking care of their business. They're lucky. They might lose, but so far they're undefeated.
Look, the undefeated thing's fine. If you want to rank Indiana and BYU being undefeated conference champs, that's fine.
But you said a conference loser in the title game would not be punished. Pate said yesterday on his show he thinks BYU loses the Big 12 title game to a Colorado.
Oh, no. I just said the SEC conference championship loser would not be punished. The
3-loss Alabama.
Big 12 would definitely be punished, and the ACC as well. I'll give you a take, though. This might rally up a little bit more. Let's see how far we can get you going today. Undefeated, whatever. You want to use that. You're undefeated. You haven't lost, blah, blah, blah. However, that's fine. You want to rank those teams where you want to rank them, that's fine.
Yes.
When you get to the point of deciphering between losses, I think it's absolutely laughable that Georgia's ranked 12th in this poll. I think it's absolutely laughable.
Like that they're that high?
That they're that low. I would rank Georgia ahead of Miami. Miami just lost to Georgia Tech. They have no quality wins. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois in the second week of the season at home.
Yeah.
Georgia's 2 losses have come to 2 teams who are ranked inside the college football playoff currently, in Ole Miss and Alabama. Both of them, by the way, were on the road. Notre Dame lost at home to Northern Illinois.
Yes.
And they're ranked ahead of Georgia.
They do have 2 top 25 wins.
That's fine. Georgia went on the road and smoked Texas. Where's Texas ranked right now?
They are
number 3. That's arguably the most impressive win of anybody in the country this year is what they went on the road and did.
It is the most impressive
to
win.
Texas. Like, it's just, I would rank them ahead of, they haven't played Tennessee yet, but I wouldn't have any issue ranking them ahead of Tennessee. I'd rank them ahead of Penn State. I'd rank them ahead of Ohio State, to be honest with you. Ohio State's played 2 teams with the pulse. They won one game. They lost the other. Like, I know that the SEC stuff gets tiresome. It is laughable to me, and this is just big dirt. It is laughable to me that 4 of the 5 highest-ranked teams in the country are from the Big Ten.
So here is my only rebuttal to
That's
you
ridiculous.
on Georgia. Kirby Smart, the defense, you will not get an argument from me in that stuff. I don't know how you can watch him play quarterback for that team and act like they're so much better than all of the that. Dude
I'm not acting like they're so much better. That's not my argument.
Florida.
It's not my argument. But my argument isn't that they're so much better. My argument is if you put any of these other teams in their schedule, they would have 4 losses. And that's fine. I know.
How many teams, if they have Florida's schedule, would have like 3 losses?
A lot of
losses?
them.
Okay, so like
a lot of them.
But
that's the point.
But we're using qualifiers that are not in every team's control.
No, it's not. And I get that frustrates people. Georgia has had to go on the road to Texas, on the road to Alabama, and on the road to Ole Miss this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really hard schedule. And if Miami played that schedule, they would have 3 losses and they wouldn't be in the college football top 12.
Miami doesn't have that schedule.
That's the whole point. That's why this is complicated. If you want to do the undefeated thing, that's fine. Miami has beaten nobody this year.
I don't disagree. Look, we don't disagree on largely what your point is. I find it funny we only do this cape up for certain programs.
We do it for the SEC because it's
Yes.
the best conference in the country, and we all know that it is.
Well, 4 of the 5 top teams are Big Ten teams.
Which is ridiculous.
You know who doesn't think the SEC is the best conference? Matt Rule. Here he was yesterday at a press conference.
I think 4 teams from this league should get in every year because this is the best league. This is the NFL of college football on my mind. It stretches from coast to coast, different time zones, different weather. That's not to diminish any other league. The SEC is amazing. These other leagues are great, but the challenge in the Big Ten is going to be really difficult.
So he thinks 4 Big Ten teams should make the playoff.
Because UCLA and Rutgers are located a far ways away from each other. That's why they should get 4 teams in.
And coast to coast.
My team's in the Big Ten.
Coast to coast.
The conference is not good.
Coast to coast.
It hasn't been good for a decade. They've had 2 good teams. They only have 2 good teams again this year.
What conference is Mississippi State in?
It's ridiculous.
And they don't look great, do they?
Like, you know why the whole Pate talked about this on his show yesterday, and it's so true. The whole reason why this Ohio State Big Noon kickoff thing is a big deal is because how many teams can you choose in the Big Ten for the Big Noon kickoff? How many teams in the Big Ten would you say I want to watch that game?
Well, even if it's Ohio State.
You can't choose Oregon because they're on the West Coast, and that's in the bylaws in the conference. You cannot make them play at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's in the bylaws of the television contract.
Did you know that yesterday?
I did not know that until yesterday. That is in the bylaws of the television contract.
Okay, so that eliminates what we talked
So
about
you have Ohio
yesterday.
State.
Yeah.
You got Penn State.
Well, but
Indiana.
Okay, but my rebuttal is this.
Where do you go after that?
You chose Ohio State for the obvious reason. They played Purdue. So, my argument would be give me not that game. I don't want to watch a 45-0 game. Your anger is fine to have.
Yeah.
Somebody else had anger about this. Paul Feinbaum. Matt Rule.
Preach,
says
my boy,
the Big
Paul.
Ten's better than the SEC.
Preach, Paul.
What say you?
Matt, stay in your lane, okay? Job 1, win enough games to get to some stupid bowl game. Don't worry about the big boys because you're not one of them. We saw what you did in the NFL. You were a complete disaster in Carolina.
That's a low blow.
You somehow got this job in Nebraska, and you're talking like you belong at the table with Ohio State and Georgia. You don't. Just try to win maybe 6 games. Quit choking big games on the final play and leave the punditry to the professionals. Thank you.
I always love when the national pundits take what we do, as if it's an ability that no other humans can do.
Nobody else can make these dumb
The
arguments.
Stephen A's, the Feinbaums, the guys who have to give the asinine take, the Kendrick Perkins, they get offended when coaches give it a take. And it's you cannot agree with the take.
It's like the player that says you didn't play, so you can't have a take on it. It's the
don't
same
know.
thing. You're not a pundit. No, you can't be a pundit. You're not a pundit. I mean, anybody can have. He's wrong on the opinion, but anybody can have an opinion if they want. It feels so good to yell about
I love
this.
Paul Feinbaum after this one. I usually don't really like.
I mean, the Matt Rule comment's pretty ridiculous. The Big Ten's not the Big.
Is it ridiculous?
I mean, it is. He can say whatever he wants. That's fine. I know that. What's he going to say? The Big Ten sucks, and we're a part of the problem because we're not going to go to a bowl game. We might lose this weekend, and if we do, we're not going to go to a bowl game.
They're looming. Their no bowl game appearance streak is looming.
They're on the road at USC this weekend. Both of them are coming off a bye.
Desperate USC at home. USC is what? Better than the road?
I think so.
I haven't won on the road.
But the Big Ten's not the best conference in the country. It's just not, and that's okay to acknowledge. My
You're
team's
not
in the Big Ten, and they're not the best conference in the country.
We asked Dan Lanning. I bet he'd agree with Matt Rule. Right.
I think he would tell you, no, I was in the SEC as well, and
I don't think he would tell you that publicly.
He probably wouldn't say it publicly. He would definitely say it privately.
Oh, he'd say, they're even. He'd try to spin it that way publicly. Like SEC and Big Ten, they're just right
I mean,
there
this
with
stuff
each other.
always ends up settling itself.
yeah,
Indiana
it
and
will.
Ohio State are going to play in a couple weeks. If Indiana loses, they're going to tumble, whether it's fair or not. That's the way that it's going to work. They won't be ranked in the top 5.
I just think the top of the conferences are certainly debatable.
I disagree with you there. I have a strong disagreement there. I think the Big Ten has 2 legitimate teams in Oregon and Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I think outside of that,
I think Penn State could hang with Alabama.
I'm not saying they couldn't hang. I'm not saying they get.
That's
I'm
what
not saying it's a
talking about.
bloodbath.
I'm not talking about Georgia.
But
or
if
Texas.
they're playing on a neutral field, I would not put a penny on Penn State to win that game.
I don't know if you would gamble on Alabama either.
I would definitely gamble
What
on
about
Alabama
Tennessee?
in that game. I would gamble on Tennessee against Penn State. I think they're identical teams,
Really?
good defenses, limited offenses, run the football, and I would take Josh Heupel over James Franklin.
I don't know what happened to you, but post-election, you've become SEC dirt.
This is pre-election, too. I've just embraced. I stopped fighting against it. It's a tidal wave. I've been swept up. There's no more fight. They're the best conference, and we all try and act like they're not and argue that they're not. And they have 7 teams that are better than anybody in the ACC. That's just a fact.
Do you know
It is.
You know what you've become?
They're all better than Miami, Clemson, or SMU.
You've become a mushroom zombie person in The
I
Last
have.
of Us. You've
I
just
have.
embraced being a mushroom
I
now.
was eaten. Now I'm going to eat you. Time to be eaten. The SEC's the best. I don't know what you want from me, dude. There are seven teams in the
question.
There are 7 teams in the SEC that would win the Big 12.
Time to be eaten.
That's just a fact. It
the
is.
SEC's the best. Yes or no?
It's over. Give up hope.
Josh Pate will join us at 7:40. So we got a short one coming up next on the Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by A&E Plumbing, Heating, and Air, serving Portland, Southwest Washington, and the Gorge. Online at ANEHeatingandCooling.com. It's hard to stop a train. First on the Fan, the second college football playoff bracket of the season released last night. Oregon still sitting at number 1 after their win over Maryland last week, and Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, and Indiana rounding out the rest of the top 5. In the association, the Blazers smacking the T-Wolves in NBA Cup action, 122-108, the final. They'll be back at it again tonight at Moda. And the Oregon Ducks surviving a great effort on the college hardwood from the Pilots. They get the 80-70 win in overtime. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's The Fan in your office and every room of your home. Tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Big purchases always pop up. It's part of being a homeowner, and it can be tough. But imagine not having to pay on one of those purchases for 5 years.
And Sprague Crunch, the hot topics you want to hear.
What's the pressure? Don't sit here and act like there's no... We get nervous teeing off in front of a gallery on the 10th hole at Eastmoreland.
Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness, with memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com.
Hey, Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 a month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, online at crunch.com. Some great text coming in. The Vancouver Ford text line.
Man.
To clarify, by the way, on the 9 a.m. comment, because I saw people asking about that, you can play road. Oregon can play a road game at 9 a.m.
We're talking about hosting those games.
For hosting a game, it is in the bylaws of the television contract that you cannot do that.
And we talked about that yesterday because we didn't know.
The Pac-12 kicked the ideas on doing it because they were trying to find
TV
more
windows.
value, and they thought about maybe we make our teams play at 9 a.m. We could get more money from Fox if we gave them that inventory. I think the cutoff is at 9 because 10 a.m. Mountain Time is allowable. So Colorado, for example, is the big noon game this weekend. They are 1 hour ahead of us. That is a 10 a.m. local kick, I believe.
No, I'm glad you clarified because we talked about that a little bit yesterday. I had said probably a couple different times in the segment, USC, UW, maybe in Oregon. I wouldn't have been shocked if next year all the bitching and moaning from the usual suspects say, hey, why don't you throw it to the West? It was nice that you kind of cleared that up, though.
A lot of thoughts are rolling in. We'll see. Maybe we'll read some of these coming up in the final hour of the show. Somebody's saying that there's only 3 teams in the SEC that can win the ACC or the Big 12.
Well, okay, so
come on, man. 7 might be aggressive, but 3 really.
We don't need to get into this like carousel that we tend to do, where we kind of agree, but we somehow kind of debate to the same usual teams. Georgia's quarterback has to be accounted for them not be. I think when we think,
but here's the thing: we're using this against Georgia, but what about BYU's quarterback play?
I don't think it's not worthy of bringing up in a conversation. My point is this. Georgia does have the best win in college football this year. And I there's some really good wins. Your team has one.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think it's pretty substantially better than every other win, okay?
They dominated Texas on the road.
Dominated them. Made them question their quarterback
They
situation.
benched their quarterback in the game.
But I've watched that cat enough, as have you, to tell you that I look at Georgia and say Georgia can beat anybody, and Georgia could lose to like 7 to 9 teams because that cat is not good. It's not even that he's mid. It's that he's not good. He lost Bowers and Ladd McConkey, and now he can't throw a pass unless the team's wearing a different uniform. And that, to me, it matters. When you talk about the SEC and the dominance, I do fight you on it, but largely because of my own moral stance here, okay?
Sure.
Let me fight this battle alone. I'll be Jon Snow with a
you
single
go it alone.
blade.
You're
okay?
standing. Here come the horses. They're coming at you.
But if Georgia's quarterback wasn't throwing interceptions, I wouldn't fight you on Georgia. But if Georgia's the best in the SEC to you or to other people, I will be willing to have a conversation of, I don't know if they beat this team, that team, or that team. And if they can't because of their quarterback, why should I not think other teams in this conversation wouldn't have chances?
Totally fair.
Versus just saying, well, it's the SEC with their top 5 teams and nobody else.
Totally fair. We'll get to Pate here in a second. The only retort I would have to that is I feel like Penn State's the same thing. They just don't play teams with a pulse, so it doesn't look bad.
I don't argue for Penn State.
Like that's the whole point about this is like Penn State has a bad offense. Their quarterback's been disappointing. He was horrendous in the only big game they played all year. They should have been boat race, but they had a fumble go through the end zone for a touchback that totally swayed the feeling of that game. They beat UCLA 27-11, and their offense was clunky.
Yes.
Like, that's not playing on the road at Ole Miss. If he had to go on the road to Ole Miss right now, he's throwing 3 picks, and they're losing the game by 2 touchdowns. It's not on their schedule. And so Georgia has more losses because their schedule is more challenging. I agree with you completely, and I think it's a great thing for the sport right now. The parity is awesome. And maybe you could make an argument. I've been wrong on this all year. I felt like maybe 2 or 3 teams. I feel like it's a lot wider than that right now. Let's talk to Pate about that. He is our daily ticker guest every Wednesday at 7:40. Josh Pate, the commissioner of college football, is next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainhomeservices.com.
Randall on the edge. In the paint it comes to Gobert. Turns and twists. Clingan gets a piece of that, rips it free, and up come the Blazers.
They tried to disrespect DC first play of the game.
There's our guys, Kevin Calabro, Lamar Hurd on the call. The Blazers get a blowout win over the T-Wolves, with the baby Blazers largely being responsible for that. Rob Williams was great, but the T-Wolves off to a bad start, could not recover.
Really fun night for the fans, really fun night for the team. The T-Wolves were stinking it up. You can't do that against the Blazers, especially in a cup game. What are we doing, T-Wolves? Come on.
You got to fight for the cup, man. We got cup fever over here. Who's stinking it up? The T-Wolves, although I would bet them tonight. Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful. Let the pros tackle the projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online, Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainshomservices.com.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd.
That's
In this wide world of sports, some stories can slip through the cracks.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules.
Pelican Brewing presents the Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague hit the big stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague is poured by Pelican Brewing, independently brewing since 1996. Your local coastal brewery, Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.
All right, Daily Ticker time on a Wednesday, brought to you as always by our good friends at Pelican Brewing, now offering their newest signature Pelican West Coast IPA on a shelf near you. Raise your glass, drink on. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach. Joining us now, as he does every Wednesday, is the commissioner of college football, the man behind Josh Pate's college football show every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 5 o'clock, our time live on YouTube, at Josh Pate, CFB on Twitter. Go give him a follow. Josh Pate, ladies and gentlemen. And Pate, we're already running late to you. I have no time to fart around here. We have been yelling at each other for basically back-to-back segments about everything college football. I used to be a West Coast guy that stiff-armed the SEC bias and said, this is ridiculous and I'm tired of it. And I think I'm like a zombie that at this point has been eaten, and now I'm one of them. And I no longer fight against it. You closed your show on this last night, and we have a lot of people, arguing on text lines, and the SEC stuff's nonsense. I want to allow you the floor to our West Coast audience to speak to this perceived notion of SEC bias that is in existence.
Well, there is SEC bias in the same way that there's like big man bias in the NBA. We kind of have to discuss like why the bias exists. It's not like we've gone blind resume, and if your Matt dot happens to be in the southern United States, you automatically have baked-in value in the eyes of a rankings committee or the eyes of a pollster. It came from somewhere. So that's the first thing. Then we can talk about what the somewhere is, and we can talk about whether it's fair or not. Is there preferential treatment given? Of course there is. I give preferential treatment. I give benefit of the doubt to SEC teams when I'm ranking teams. I would just ask this. For anyone who has a problem with that, what properly calibrated rankings system or ratings model that is in existence and accurate does not currently have a whole bunch of SEC teams in the top 17 or 18? So I'll tell you, I've got, I think, 8 of them in my top 17. I looked at Bill Connolly in the S&P Plus yesterday. He's got 9 of them in his top 17. You saw what the committee had last night. Only 1 in the top 5, for the record. I wonder, for everyone who complains about it, there's a big difference in it shouldn't be this way versus I don't like that it is this way. Those are 2 very different concepts. There's a lot of stuff I don't like, as I said on the show last night. Personally, I don't think I should have to slow down to 20 miles an hour in a school zone. But I do it because I understand that there are reasons why those speed limit signs exist. So does it not make you feel good, or do we really think that it shouldn't be that way? And if it shouldn't be that way, then someone else has got to tell me how it should be, because this is not professional sports. You are not merely what your record says you are. And anyone who convinces themselves otherwise, I think, is being dishonest.
I don't disagree with the overall theme there. I guess my question would be for the Indiana or the BYUs, or let's use Colorado or whoever it is that's in an ACC, a Big 12 conference. How do you fix this then? Like if Ole Miss is allowed to lose at home to Kentucky and look awful in the process, but then like 3 weeks later be allowed grace back in and say they're a top blank team, or LSU can lose to a very bad to mediocre USC team but still be given grace before getting their teeth kicked in. How do these other schools, or what could they possibly do in other conferences to maybe kind of be given the same grace to a certain extent? I don't disagree with your BYU stuff that you said last night, but BYU can't control what their conference is. They can't control who's good at recruiting, who's not good at recruiting. All they can do is win, right? But they're not going to be allowed any grace if they lose even a game, even if we both know they're not as good. So, like, what can these other schools and other conferences do then?
Nothing is the uncomfortable answer. Nothing.
You're the commissioner. Fix this. What are we doing?
To go back. Oh, no, I tried. Your commissioner tried. Trust me. I've been on this show many times. And what did I sit here yelling about? I yelled, do not realign these conferences. Do not restructure the sport, because this was the end game. So you asked that question there. And it's like opening the book to chapter 10 and starting on chapter 10. The answers are in chapters 1 through 9. When we didn't do anything because I didn't want it to happen, but when certain powers that be took sticks of dynamite to the sport and restructured it this way, then that was the end. So the answer then to the question of, well, what is a BYU supposed to do? Nothing. It's out of their control. They can't do anything. And here's the crazy part. Indiana's in the Big Ten. And yet even Indiana is stuck with a schedule this year that's not their fault, but it's also not anyone else's fault, that just so happens to feature one quality team, like one highly rated team, and then otherwise it is of Sun Belt caliber. Literally, they are playing a Sun Belt caliber strength of schedule this year, so it's a one-game season for them. Is that fair? Of course it's not. And does it match up to what the standard is for an Ole Miss? Of course not. Ole Miss can afford to lose a game because they have other high-caliber games that, if they win, can redeem the loss that they had earlier in the year. That's the unfortunate part, that I think if you're just driving by the sport and you're not immersed in it, it seems so unfair. Well, it is unfair. It is absolutely unfair. But I can't go back and change the past. You guys know as well as I do, hey, I fought tooth and nail not to make it change before it changed. But now that it's changed, if you're just trying to put together the most logical playoff selection methodology for this year moving forward, there is no answer for Brigham Young. You lose and you're done. It's like Herman Boone and Remember the Titans. You lose a game, they'll fire you.
Go be perfect. Josh Pate is our guest, the commissioner of college football. His show every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 5 o'clock, live on YouTube. Catch the podcast wherever you find your podcast. Give him a follow on Twitter at Josh Pate, CFB. On this note, we can't solve the issues of the past. Let's try and solve the issues of the future, Commissioner. This is becoming a glaring issue right now, and that being conference championships, how we decide who plays in them, tiebreakers, the impact that they have on the playoffs. I think there was an anonymous SEC coach who had a quote today saying, let's go back to divisions, which makes me have these weird visions of now Iowa being back in a Big Ten championship game, and that makes me uncomfortable. Looking to the future, is there a way to fix this? Is there a way to put this genie back in the bottle, or is this just kind of what we're stuck with?
Well, I mean, I think we're suggesting something very dangerous here. We are suggesting that the people who control college football don't understand how college football works, and that's not a leap I'm ready to make. I think the smartest people in the room are the one structuring this sport, and I'm lying to you. These are lies coming through my teeth. Of course, they were clueless and didn't think this through all the way. No one ever thinks anything through all the way in this sport. When I'm elected college football commissioner, it'll be different. In the meantime, here's what I would suggest. Go back to your divisions with a caveat. The divisions don't have to be the same divisions every year. I know this is radical in concept, but everything is in college football. The Big Ten West became so mired in mediocrity because the Big Ten West was the same schools every year. And therefore, everyone understood if the barometer is lowering, the bar is collectively lowering every year. We don't have to strive. We're not getting our head caved in like Penn State would in the Big Ten East if they performed at a comparable level to, let's say, an Iowa or a Minnesota. So the answer to that is return to a divisional format, but the division is changed every year. It's just randomized and changed every year, and you divide things up based on some kind of rubric that makes sense. I mean, I certainly wouldn't put Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State on the same side like the Big Ten used to do, but I'd do it in all the conferences. The SEC is headed for like a biblical Armageddon type tie-breaking scenario in the last week of November / first week of December. And I can't wait to sit there because I will be Tom Hanks on the beach in Castaway, just raising my arms in the air as everything burns around me.
Moving logs around to spell SOS, and it's just a waste of your time.
Sorry, Tennessee.
I don't know if it's surprising is the right word to use here, but given how they were covered last year, where they were basically shoved down our throats for like 3 straight weeks on both of the pregame shows nationally on the 2 big networks, is it not standing out how odd it is that Colorado's actually a good team? They're going to have a Heisman finalist. They might have 2 Heisman finalists worthy of being in New York, and they have an opportunity in front of them to win the conference, and I feel like we don't hear about them. They're not put on every big-time television slot, and last year it was just like instantly for the first month of the season, Dion, primetime, Colorado, and it created some polarization. This year they're actually good. They've got a window here to go and win their conference, and I don't feel like I hear much about him. Are you surprised by this?
No, I am not. It validates one of my great working theories in the sport, and that is that a lot of people who cover college football really don't love the football aspect of it. They love the headline aspect of it. They love the drama. They really love scandal. I mean, that's why you have certain people who will jump right to the front of the line when something off the field happens, but you don't even remember ever reading a game recap story from them. They don't really care about the sport itself. So Colorado last year was really flashy, and there were headlines left and right, and then they built the bubble early in the season. Then the season popped, so you could both praise and then dunk on Deion, and that got a ton of traffic and a ton of engagement. Well, this year it's been kind of quiet. There aren't a ton of headlines. They're just going about their business. They're winning football games. To me, it is the story of college football this year. It's right up there with Indiana. It is the story of college football, considering who it is doing it and where that program has come from. And yet, I agree with you. I was thinking about this because we were talking about him on our show last night, and I was thinking to myself afterwards, when is the last time that I saw someone talk about Colorado, the college football team? I mean, I was in the gym yesterday, and I look up at the TVs, and they're on two of the respective, morning shows. And, I mean, the only way Colorado or Deion is getting coverage of that variety is, like, should Deion go to the Cowboys? Like, I can't even believe people watch that. It's unbelievable.
Amen, brother.
That is so true. I saw that too yesterday. I'm just like, this is all right. They might go to the college football playoff this year, which I love the way you said that on your show Sunday too. Like let that settle for a second. Colorado college football playoff. This very likely could happen.
Well, we need to be honest too. Like I think, Pate, you do a pretty good job. You admit where maybe some of your biases lean in terms of what you're talking about on the topics. I think if we're in a trust tree together, it's nothing, no disrespect to BYU or anybody else, but like I kind of need Colorado in the playoff. I need to see Hunter, Shador, Deion maybe host a playoff game or at least have a bye or whatever ends up working itself out. We all need Colorado in the playoff.
I need it like I need air to breathe.
Amen.
So if that's bias, then stamp me on the forehead. But yes, I would love to see it.
We believe now. Before we let you go, because we always appreciate your time, Oregon. Talk about scheduling having to do something that I don't believe any other power school has done, and that is play 8 straight conference games without a bye. They haven't had a bye since their non-conference wrapped up. The second week in a row now they're playing a team that's coming off of a bye. Maryland last week, a little clunky. Now they're going on the road to Camp Randall, a team that I don't know how to quantify. They had a stretch in the middle of the year where they looked dominant, and then the last time we saw them play, they lost like 42-10 to Iowa. Anything there? Concern meter? Just your thoughts on Oregon going on the road to play the Badgers.
This is a spot that Oregon has been immune to so far this year. They have just thoroughly handled business. I think this is the biggest landmine on the Week 12 schedule, and having to do the cumulative travel, wear and tear, going over there again against a team that's rested. This is a spot where you should expect a one-game season effort from Wisconsin, total Super Bowl effort. No, they shouldn't be able to stack up. No, on paper, that doesn't make any sense. This is still college football. And even as consistent as Oregon has been this year, this is still the kind of spot where if you bring your C+ or B- game, you can get bitten. I'm paying very close attention to that game. I still think Oregon will win the game. But do not be fooled by how easily, like Alabama handled them earlier in the year. Totally different dynamic for this game on both sides.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I hate to do this, one more for you. We randomly brought up last week, I cooked some chili at my house, and I let the meat just cook all day in the crock pot. That created quite a blowback for me. When you use a crock pot, do you put the meat in raw and let it cook, or do you cook the meat before it goes in a crock pot?
Oh, I have no idea. I just get enough friends who know how to cook, and I outsource that part of my life.
Really?
Although I will say your meat has found out exactly what it feels like to be Florida State football this year, it sounds like.
On that note, Josh Pate, the commissioner of college football, every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 5 o'clock live on YouTube.
I feel like he has an Orlovsky diet.
I think he did a little bit.
Just I just eat chicken with nothing
bland
on
chicken.
it.
I mean, hey, it's a lot of protein.
It's protein. Yeah.
Catch the podcast wherever you find the podcast. We always appreciate the time, Josh, and look forward to the chat next week.
I appreciate it, guys.
There you go, Josh Pate of Josh Pate.
What a life! He just has other people cook for him.
Just outsource cooking.
That's
nice. It's a good problem to have, man.
He's always on the road, though, right?
So he's on the road.
He's on the road. He gets a lot of meals at the universities. He gets,
he's going to Athens this weekend.
He gets comped by CBS.
Well, actually,
whoever.
Depending on which university he's eating at, he might just be getting plain unseasoned chicken. Because some universities have a really nice spread for the press.
What do you think about our local spread? Can we be honest about this? Because Oregon State, the last time I went to a game as
food
a
in the press
member,
box, you mean?
Oregon State's media meal was
hot dog.
Questionable hot dog, like a little greenish hue, and run-of-the-mill not a good chili.
I'd say Oregon hits it like a 46% clip of all
Yeah.
right, that's not bad. And then sometimes you're like, oh.
Yeah, there's weeks where you're just like, well, I guess I'm not hungry today.
Yeah.
Or I'll go get some nachos or a hot dog downstairs.
I'll walk down to a concession stand.
But one thing Oregon does great is sometimes they will give the press box people a treat and just give you all regular hot dogs. So I've, been like, all right, I'll take one of those.
Yeah, Oregon State's best thing they've given media members, in my experience, has been like, hey, here's warm cookies.
Warm cookies is a delight.
Warm cookies,
especially
nice
on
to
a
get.
cold November
Yes,
night.
at the end of the game.
The biggest danger in the press box is the soda machine and just like instant access. I go fill up I just count
lot of Diet
just a
Cokes.
lot of Diet Cokes.
Sneaky,
sucking them back.
Sneaky best spread. I'm hoping they're still doing this. Is the Portland Timbers? I would do
I
their.
still haven't done a Timbers game as a media member.
I mean, I did game days way back a long time ago, doing Saturdays and Sunday coverage for them, and I would just get the best. Like we're talking salmon, burgers, full on spread for breakfast.
Boise State had a good spread when I went and Oregon State played them one year for game day. They had a really nice spread set up in their press box.
You know what the Blazers make the press do? They make you pay. They charge. You have to get a ticket to get a meal if you're a press member for the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, I'm not
Wait,
really.
what? That's how they're doing it now?
They've done that
they've
for
always done that.
years.
They used to have food lines at Blazer
No, they have
games.
food lines,
No,
but
no,
you
no,
had
no,
to get a ticket to get
were
into
supposed
that
to-
food line,
I
Dirk.
was going to say, you and I were not paying for meals
You
that
guys
I never
should
paid for a
have.
we
meal.
were supposed to.
They
Yeah.
charge media members
They
for
charge
food?
media members. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I wish I were making that up, and they still can't offer a great experience for the fans.
The best food experience for post games in football and basketball that I've had is if you stay long enough as a media member, you get booze. They pass around beers at Oregon State games. Eventually, the SIDs do, and I know at Blazer games there was always a guy in the post game after the
Eventually,
pressers.
they tap a keg and give you some.
come in and you do your write-ups or your media or your audio, or whatever. and
Why
there's
does the
beer.
binge drinking capital of Oregon and Corvallis not surprise me that they're popping beers even with the staff?
Win or lose, we booze, man. Win or
Yes,
lose, we
you
booze.
do.
That's the life philosophy. The Daily Ticker, as always, brought to you by our great friends at Pelican Brewing, now offering their newest signature Pelican West Coast IPA on a shelf near you. Raise your glass, drink on Pelican Brewing, born at the beach. We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. Are you with Josh and Sprague on this? We'll start the final hour there. Got some other NFL notes I want to get to as well. I'm sure we'll yell about other things in college football. Loaded final hour. Don't go anywhere. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
I'm Leif, owner
It's time for Dirt and Sprague.
I've never been on live television before, but apparently sometimes I don't watch the news.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
Because I'm a kid, and apparently Grandpa just gives me the remote after we watch the Powerball.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
We'll probably sit around and cook some soups and eat bread and desserts and just get all fat and sassy.
The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, live on YouTube, as we are every day. Good morning, everybody.
You're a loser.
No, you're not. You're not a loser if you're watching the show.
Yeah, we're not firing him now, right?
No.
Not today.
Maybe tomorrow. R.I.P., man. Miss that
Funny,
guy.
but I'm kind of sad, too. He's a good dude, man.
Great dude. Miss him. Like I knew him. We got a lot to get to.
He did a lot of great things.
We did. He did a lot of impactful things.
He also used to walk into clubs and say, "Who's going to sex Matumbo?"
Not in my house.
That was a thing. Reportedly, he used to just walk into clubs and say, "Who's going to sex Matumbo?"
Wow. Imagine the power that you could
blame
have
him? I mean,
walking into a club. If you could do that, Schultz, you would do that in a heartbeat.
And I'd wave my finger just like the Kempe did, too.
Did you see the length of that finger?
A big finger.
I think many a lady enjoyed that.
I would argue Jordan Schultz does that when he goes to strip clubs.
No.
Who's going to sex Schultzy? Who's Schultzy? I am.
Who's got two thumbs and his name's Schultzy? I am.
Right in the butt.
Got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show.
Much.
I want to pick up where we left off there with our buddy Josh Pate and you asking questions about what is happening with one school. Now, we have yelled about another school in their conference that I ultimately think is going to end up being a moot point.
We've yelled about them? You say the terms yell like we actually
We
yell.
scream at each other all the time. I don't think BYU is going to go undefeated. Now, maybe I end up being wrong on that. I don't think they're that good. It's a fun story. They're undefeated right now. You want to rank them wherever you want to rank them, that's fine.
No, they're good. Come on.
They're good. They're good.
They're not
good.
elite.
They're not elite. They're
There we
good.
go, yes.
Fine. I think Kansas has a great shot at beating them this weekend. They got to go on the road to Arizona State the next week. Arizona State
Kansas beat up Iowa State last week.
They did. And Houston has already pulled an upset over who did they upset?
Kansas State 2 weeks
So
ago, yeah.
they've already shown the ability to upset somebody. I don't know who. I think somebody's going to trip them up here over the next 3 weeks.
Sure.
And so I think a lot of this is going to be a moot point. I also think that right now you would be hard-pressed to try and argue against Colorado being the best team in the Big 12. Just the way that they're playing. Now, they had the Kansas State loss a couple of weeks ago, but and the Nebraska one obviously was a clunker for them early in the year.
The Kansas State one was devastating because they
took the
had
lead,
all the
and then
momentum in that
Kansas
game,
State scored a touchdown with like a minute to go. They lost 31-28.
Yep.
There are weeks previous to that. They went on the road to Arizona, won 34-7. Arizona's not great, but 34-7.
At that moment, though, that was somewhat impressive to dominate them that way.
They played in Cincinnati at home, won 34-23, so you won by double digits. And then they went on the road to Texas Tech this weekend and had tortillas and water bottles thrown at them the entire game. They were down 13-0. And then went on a 41-14 run the rest of the way and won the game going away.
Yeah.
Colorado gets Utah at home this weekend. Utah's quarterback, by the way, the one that started against BYU Saturday night, he's also now out for the year.
Boy.
The guy who finally breathed some life into their offense, he's done. He's not going to play anymore, so that's great. They're going back to the younger Wilson brother. They do have to go to Kansas, and then they get Oklahoma State at the end of the year. Now, they don't have the tiebreakers over everybody because, to your point, they lost to Kansas State. So if they end up with 2 losses, it will shuffle this deck. Are we rooting for Colorado to win the Big 12?
Without a doubt, and it's not particularly close. And look, I really like Kalani Sitake. He was a one-time Beaver D coordinator. He was a really nice guy. I got to interact with him a little bit. I remember when he got to BYU, had a good little start. I texted him. He texted back. Nice dude. It's a great story to BYU. And again, this is where I will disagree with you. They're not elite. They're a good team, man.
They're a good team.
You go this far undefeated, you're a good team.
That's fair.
Iowa State, I don't know what it's been about them. I've never fully bought in, but they're still alive in this conversation.
They had a little bit of the BYU stuff where they were winning games that you're like Central Florida had a pick six and they dropped it on the 1-yard line, did the early fumble thing, and that's why they won that game.
I said weeks ago Kansas State was the best team in this conference. That loss to Houston was awful. And don't look now, Arizona State's still in this conversation at 7-2.
They are
4-2 in conference, and I think they're going to get Scatabo back.
Yeah.
Like, Arizona State might have something to say about this. I am without a doubt rooting for Colorado, though. It is the better story. Travis Hunter put a tortilla in his pants. There was a hole in it. I don't know how or why. And Shedeur signed one. So, like, what they did last weekend was fun. I've looked at all the metrics with them, and this is what I find interesting. One of our listeners says people were talking about them for reasons not actual football-wise. I won't say why, and that's fine to think that.
This was last year or this year?
Last year
with the
into
hype.
this year. They're a fun team to watch. None of the metrics make sense with how they're doing it, though. The best metric I think they have is like opponent third down percentage and sacks.
Yeah.
All the other metrics, they're like middle of the road.
Defense is not very good.
They're
Can't
not
really run the
elite.
ball.
They can't. No, they can't run the ball at all. They're dead last in the conference in that category. They don't get 80 yards a game. But their two great players seemingly win them all their games.
They have one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and they have maybe the best player in the entire sport. And an explosive passing attack outside of that as well.
Yeah, they have other weapons as well, to be fair to them. But, like, it's just such a fun story. And I know they were forced on us last year, and that pumpkin spoiled. But I loved it. I think Deion's cool. I think it's fun. I think it's good for the sport to have a Deion Sanders in that sport. And so, yeah, I am without a doubt rooting for Colorado to win that. I want Colorado in the playoff bad. I don't know if they'll get past Kansas at Kansas.
Sure.
Oklahoma State's been the most disappointing team in the entire sport. Maybe Florida State, but Oklahoma State's in this. Utah is in this. I want Colorado in a bad way to be in the playoff.
Just the drama and the excitement of it would be awesome. You cannot match what the anticipation for a Colorado, especially if they got like a fun matchup.
Even if you hate them, don't you?
You're
want
gonna watch
Shedeur and Travis Hunter in the playoff?
You're absolutely gonna watch, no matter what your opinion is. You either hate them or you love them. There's kind of not really an in between on them. I've gone back and forth on this. Like last year, I didn't take him or them as a program very seriously, and I chuckled every time that they were shoved down our throat because they didn't really deserve it. And it was just this huge amount of attention and focus when there were really good stories in the sport that I thought were getting overlooked just to basically have the glitz and glamour of Colorado. And I enjoyed when it all unraveled on them, primarily because they were running their mouth and they shouldn't have been. They weren't a very good football team last year.
Mm-hmm.
I have flipped a little bit because they have gone about business. Like they've just worked this year and they've gotten better. They were humbled early in the season. They went on the road, played a primetime game at Nebraska, and they got their ass whooped, man. And they didn't make excuses. They didn't say, like, it just was, all right, they back to business, and they've just been rattling off outside of the Kansas State game, in a game that they could have won. They've been rattling off win after win after win after win. Mm-hmm. And you're not really hearing anything. It's not Deion shutting down questions from a reporter or Deion making the report, do you believe now? Why aren't you writing positive stories about me? Like, it's just none of that. They're just winning football games. And that is ultimately what matters the most. I know, shocking. That's the most important thing. Because once you do that, everything else will follow. I have been very critical of him for his lack of interest in recruiting. And if he wants to be a long-term head coach, you got to eventually start recruiting. Like, they're having a great year this year. Their two best players are both going to be gone.
Yeah.
They're going to be top 10 picks in the NFL draft next year.
Well, a few of them are going to be gone because they just do portal stuff.
They do. And there was just now, I don't know if this is certain because it's just speculated, but a lot of recruiting insiders are predicting that they are going to flip one of the highest-ranked quarterbacks in the country, who has been a longtime Lincoln Riley commit at USC, Julian Lewis. He's a 4-star, 5-star guy. He's been committed to USC forever. They're now, I believe, predicting that he is going to flip and commit to Colorado. Now, again, that's a prediction. It's not a guarantee. You got to get to signing day. I don't know if it's going to end up happening, but that, I think, highlights where they're at in terms of building, and he's actually taking that a little bit more seriously. He's been on campus a bunch on recruiting visits and all of that. It would be incredible for college football for them to be in, and this is meant at no disrespect towards BYU. They are a good team, and that was unfair what I said about them.
Yeah.
Colorado making the playoff is a million times more interesting. And just with the potential of their quarterback and wide receiver play, I'm not going to pick Colorado to beat anybody because I don't think they can run the ball, and I don't think their defense is very good. But the simple fact that they have 2 top 10 picks on offense will at least make it like, all right, does Travis Hunter have a pick 6? Or does Shedeur Sanders go off? If BYU's playing one of these elite teams, I'm not giving them a snowball's chance in hell to win, and maybe they prove me wrong. I don't feel that way about Colorado. I'm not going to pick them to win, but just because of who their quarterback and wide receiver is, you could tell me they could make a game interesting.
Well, and I know last year ended with a dud, dead last in the conference, one conference win. He quadrupled their win total from the year prior. And if they run the table here, they can get through this. Getting to double-digit wins and being in a conference championship game with the possibility that he's hoisting the conference title trophy.
Imagine a 10-2 Big 12 championship year.
That is, what would we be saying about any other coach in the country? You can name whoever you want. If they did that in their second year at that program, the way it was left by Durrell, what would we be saying about him? And you don't have to believe. You don't. Do you know where they're ranked in 25?
I'm curious. I don't know off the top of my head.
Maybe they will flip and this will change. As of right now, according to 24/7, they're 79th.
Yeah, that's not
They're
good.
below Toledo, Troy, Miami of Ohio, Florida Atlantic, my Beavs, East Carolina, Washington State, Georgia State, Wake Forest. I mean,
it's not sustainable to do that. You have to. They're not going to be a top 10 recruiter, but you got to be borderline.
You got to
top
be
30 or 40.
Well, I think to continue to be a playoff-ish team, you got to be within the top 35.
Yeah,
at the minimum.
In the Big 12, if you're a top 35 recruiter, that will give you a chance to win that conference.
So I've been long and on this that I don't think he's going to stay after this year. That he's going to take a different job in some capacity. I hope to actually be wrong. I love when coaches stay. I love when Lanning says, I want to be here in Eugene. If he wins the Big 12 title, and
flip some of these kids, signing day ends up being better.
Kids and be within the conversation. That's what makes this sport fun and special. I don't want to see him leave. I don't blame him for leaving. He's got to make the best choice for himself. But certainly it's fun to have him do this, especially at Colorado. Colorado was a good school most of my life growing up. It's a good atmosphere. They've loved having him there. He's made a huge impact in the university. Just with minority applicants, tuition has increased. Like the fervor of people caring about that team and that sport again. It's good. It's good for the sport. And I know BYU or anti-Colorado people disagree with us, but having two of the blank best players in the sport in the premier thing of the sport, it's always going to be better for it.
I hope he stays too, man. He is awesome for college football. I know that storyline's out there now this week, mainly because Rex Ryan randomly said it on ESPN that now the Cowboys should go hire Deion Sanders to be their next head coach.
I would actually tell him, Deion, you go do what you want to do. You're Deion. You've made better choices, and you're better in this sport than I ever will be.
Sure.
Why would you go work for that guy right now? He is losing it. He's losing it in real time.
He is.
He is a leader that is not the leader he was 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago, or 20 when you played for him.
You're not wrong there. I hope he stays, man. It would be really fun for the sport to have him in the college football playoff. No matter how you feel about him, it elicits an opinion. And watching some of these other teams doesn't always do that. You watch and you love the sport, that's fine. But they're going to elicit a love or a hate. And Colorado winning the Big 12 would be very entertaining. Well, they got a legitimate shot to do it. If the season ended right now, they would be in the Big 12 title game.
Well, and you tell me, we'll see how this shakes out. But they get the 3 seed. If they were where BYU was, and I'm not saying they will be, I don't think I'd pick them to beat Ole Miss or Penn State per se. But, those two players, you'd go in with hey, we got a shot here, man.
Can you sling it on Notre Dame a little bit? Could you, move it on Tennessee potentially? I know they got a good defense, but it would be more entertaining, I think. But it's exciting, man. It's good for the sport, and it might end up happening. And it's wild because they have not got a lick of attention. It feels like this year compared to where it was last year, and this is the year that they ironically deserve all that attention. I got some fun with audio that we've kind of have built up throughout the course of the week. When to get to that coming up next on 1080 The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
He was experiencing a little shortness of breath, kind of out of nowhere, and we wanted to be extra cautious, obviously. So we bring him out. We ran some tests and everything on him. It came back normal, but there's going to be some further testing needed tomorrow.
Chauncey Billups last night. Anthony Simons left the game with a chest injury. Still taking a look at it. I would assume doesn't play tonight.
Yeah, these are the injuries that actually scare me as a sports fan. We can talk about Scoot and starting and basketball stuff. I really hope he is okay. It was really disturbing to watch him kind of crouch down and then leave, and they say it's a chest thing with breathing. I hope he's all right.
Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. To schedule an appointment with Dr. Mark Wagner, visit rocpdx.com.
Oregon Ducks football is on the Fan.
Gabriel back to throw. Looks, pressure comes, going to run, throw it downfield. He's got Holden. He's got it. First down, is stumbling down the side.
College basketball team almost lost to the Jason Swigart Pilots last night.
Here's the situation.
You should have been like the Beavers and beat Western Oregon by 40 points.
You guys any good this year?
We're
or is that
3-0.
just paper tiger schedule?
I mean,
a little bit of both.
I will give them this at least. They have struggled, not against the Western Oregons per se, but like Utah Tech. They were a little shaky in that game.
First half was a little uncomfortable.
That was normal for them the last couple of years. They at least handled the business in the second half of that. They beat Western Oregon, and Western Oregon should not count as a win.
No.
But they almost beat them by 50.
That's nice when you do what you're supposed to do against the bad teams.
It's hard to gauge them because they're going to play in a much lesser conference.
Yes.
And I know Gonzaga,
St.
Mary's fans. I do respect to you. I do have respect for your programs.
Well, maybe it's not that bad of a conference considering what the Pilots did.
Oh, the Pac-12 has also not been good in hoops the last X amount of years. But, it's experience. It's international. I'm hoping that Tinkle can turn this around. I care a great deal about hoops right now.
I mean, that's kind of becoming the thing. I saw a press conference yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, with Trent Bray, and he was asked, essentially, like, what do you need financially in order to compete or have this thing humming and hold on to your players and blah, 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 blah. And he basically said it's in the millions of dollars is what they need. Millions of dollars.
I have, as an alum, I paid my debt to society for that degree that I don't think I really needed. I have zero interest in ever paying a single cent to football.
Oh, I'm the same way.
I mean, really, to any sport, like, I don't think that's how athletics should be funded, to be perfectly honest with you. But, if I'm ever donating, it's going to hoops.
And that's where it should go because you don't have to donate as much to go get one player. You get one guy, changes the whole fortune of your team, man.
Hey, Brandon, your $188 donation actually helped us secure that kid.
We now have a shooting guard who can make shots.
He is from fill in the blank.
Well, this happened last night down in Eugene. For those of you who were awake late enough to watch it, you saw it. And if you didn't, it was a little close. It was a little uncomfortable.
The Ducks will survive. They will get a win, but oh my, what an effort. And Dana Altman acknowledges the effort from the Pilots here tonight through the handshake line. But it's going to be a pretty quiet bus ride home thinking about what almost was. The Pilots had it. 2 free throws to make it a 2-possession game in the final minute, and they could not get it to go. Had chance in the final seconds to win it with a bucket in regulation, and they could not find the last 2 points. They fall to the Ducks in overtime here tonight, 80-70.
I gave Austin Rapp,
good, dude.
the Pilot player. He missed some crucial free throws, and he had the turnover at the end that Oregon stole and then tied the game with. I have given his name out too many times probably to blame the full loss on him.
It never comes down to one guy.
I don't know if you've seen the highlight even yet. If you watch his rebound, he kind of does the big man thing that you taught. Get the rebound, give it to your guard.
Yeah, get rid of the ball quickly.
So he rebounds, turns, sees his guard, throws it. Go watch the guard.
Was he just not waiting for it?
In the chest.
Did it go through his hands? Was he not looking?
He didn't even get his hands up.
He didn't even have the hands up.
His chest.
What's he doing?
As if he doesn't know the big man's going to throw him the basketball.
Because you don't want your big guy shooting free throws in the final seconds of the game, especially when he's already missed some and he grabbed a rebound. He's trying to get the ball to the guard.
Yeah, so I think I'm actually going to correct this. He did miss multiple free throws.
Yeah, who's the guard that couldn't catch the pass? Who we throw him under the bus?
Number 1. I got to go back and look who number 1 is of the Pilots, but you got to catch that. You got to help your big out there, man.
You got to help him out. This is also one of the big plays during the game. Let's judge the tone.
Is this the turnover?
This is when Swag thought that they were still going to win. I think this is when they went up by 6 with a couple of minutes to go.
30 seconds left. They were up 5 points.
So we saw his bulge yesterday morning.
Well, we see it every time he wears those pants.
Let's grade what Swag's bulge was on this call.
2:35 to go. 60-57 is the lead. Portland's led for the last 25 minutes. Ballou open for 3. Answers! The freshman delivers!
Dude, that thing is standing at attention. He is about to get ready to storm the court with the team.
Oh, that
He's
is
gonna
so
pull
good.
a Mike Doc Parker, take the headphone off.
It's over!
And we think.
We think?
Yeah.
Oh, you poor bastard, Swigard. You poor bastard. How much is he gonna let's play the fun game.
I'm not ready for it.
Of how much of the opening segment on tomorrow's show will be dominated by Pilots Ducks play-by-play Swigard coverage.
I had a full body boner for 2 weeks.
Well, here's the thing. If you don't bring it up, and you are weird about this, you don't want him to do it, but you somehow
sometimes it's entertaining.
You tee it up for him.
Sometimes it's entertaining.
If we don't
He's
bring
going
it
to
up,
elbow his way into that room, dude. He is going to elbow us out of the way immediately and say, hey, I heard you talking about my call yesterday, huh? You want to talk a little bit about the Pilots?
if he is allowed a second of oxygen in the opening segment, it will be nothing but how they almost won. They might as well hang the banner in the Child Center. We almost beat Oregon once in Eugene.
I love this text. It's totally out of context. Y'all laughing at Swag. He's doing good. Love to see y'all try to do that. We're not laughing at Swag as a play-by-play guy.
Absolute idiot. No offense.
No,
to
we're not
you.
doing that at
What
all.
are you talking
Swag
about?
is literally the best basketball play-by-play guy in the entire market, and I've said that multiple times on the show. I think he's awesome at it. I'm laughing at the idea that the Pilots almost won and how much it affects his mood because he calls their games, and when he comes in after these 40-point losses, he looks like his dog died, and he has to do the show, and he's all depressed. And when they win, he's got a pep in his step. This has nothing to do with his ability as a play-by-play guy. Jesus. He should have a bigger play-by-play gig than the Portland Pilots. Understand what you're talking about when you text into the show.
Yeah, I'd say that.
If a tough, heartbreaking loss for the fighting Swigards last night.
That's
down
the best
in Eugene,
loss
Oregon.
you could have.
Moral victory? Are we going moral victory for the Pilots?
How is he not coming in tomorrow when we talk to him at 5:30 in the morning with a moral victory attitude?
He's definitely going to do that.
Come on.
They led for, 28 minutes of a 40-minute
He dropped it in that call. Listen to this.
35 to go. 60-57 is the lead. Portland's led for the last 25 minutes. Blue open for
Did the announcer jinx on him?
The freshman delivers.
I think he might have.
Did you go announcer jinx? 25 minutes.
Did he jinx the Pilots? there?
Yeah, his jinx made Bartholomew all of a sudden just become Kobe. No.
Yeah, start making shots left and right.
I was happy that he got that game. Again, it would have been so good for the show had they won it. I know you disagree with that.
For content purposes, that would have been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. He would have come in cocky sniffing so hard.
Somebody would have texted in, fire Dana Altman. And I couldn't believe they choked that game away. They should have won. They really it wasn't something that was like, they blew a 5-point lead with 30 seconds left.
Fun little night of hoops last night. I was watching some college hoops in between the rankings coming out. You had two good games, the Champions Classic. I saw some people arguing it should be a triple header and add like UConn and North Carolina. Why aren't they not included in that?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Michigan State hadn't won a title since Mateen Cleaves, right? Why are they in the Champions Classic? UConn's won a couple. North Carolina's won a bunch. Like, what are we doing?
What do we do with Michigan State? Like, I know they're good. I know Izzo's been really good. I don't feel like they've been a top-ranked team like in this conversation for a long time. And 4 years ago, Sprague, they were top 10 or whatever.
I mean, they're always
But I feel like
ranked,
they've been coming in back in ranked or not ranked, but they get the game anyway because Tom Izzo's there.
And then they go 19-17 and they make the tournament as a 7 seed and they win 2 games and you're like, why are they even in the tournament?
It's a little bit of a Syracuse-Boeheim thing.
Definitely.
Like, he's pissing his pants, and he's 4 games above 500, but they do okay in the ACC tournament.
Let's play this fun game.
Yeah, am I wrong? Maybe I'm way wrong on this.
Last time Michigan State made it past a Sweet 16.
Oh, was Draymond there?
No.
After that,
yeah. They have done
2019.
2019 was exactly it.
Was it?
That was the last time. They obviously COVID year canceled.
Yeah.
The next year, 21, they were a first 4 team and lost.
Okay, so
next year they were lost in the second round. 22-23 they lost in the Sweet 16, and last year they lost in the second round. The regular season records the last 4 years: 15-13, 23-13, 21-13, 20-15.
The fun thing about college hoops is not the actual product, because that sucks. It is being in the Blazer position of who are they going to pick, where will they pick. Like Cooper Flagg had a bad-ish game, and you get people that like want to abandon the idea of him being the franchise #1 player, and that's fine. Okay. But like you've got other players in this draft. Edgecombe played last night. Now they played Sam Houston State, so like who cares? But like he had a nice little game. Is VJ Edgecombe a guy that we're going to talk more about? Ace Bailey at Rutgers. There's going to be more names that continue to pop up in the Blazer realm of this conversation.
No doubt about it. It's going to be fun to watch this year. The product isn't always great, but I'm dialed in, man. That's all I'm doing right now is just watching sports. So I had college hoops on yesterday. I did not stay up late enough to watch this one. 8 o'clock tip's a little too late.
I have
me.
certainly disconnected. I'm trying to unplug from negativity in my life. I will like to announce that the show page will be created today for the Blue Sky social media.
Okay, we're going to have a Blue Sky page now.
Is it Blue Sky? Is it Blue Ski? I don't know.
See, every time I look at it, I say Blue Ski in my head, but I think it is technically Blue Sky.
I think it's Blue Sky.
I miss back in the day when we just had a ski on the end of everything.
Ski.
I love skiing. Who didn't walk the halls of their high school doing the ski thing?
Who didn't bump that out of their
to the window,
old speakers when everybody didn't have headphones back then?
I didn't tell my friend what the song Peaches and Cream was actually about. He legitimately thought they really enjoyed eating peaches with cream.
Really?
You can guess, what kind of household he grew up in, but it wasn't one that would know.
Sounds about right.
Peaches and cream.
It doesn't quite connect there.
Finding that out at a lunch table around a group was...
Oh.
This kid go to like Michael W. Smith concerts or something? Big church guy?
No, it just wasn't allowed out very often.
That sounds like those people, but okay, I got you.
Only edited CDs in that household? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah,
something like
I
that.
was on Blue Sky last night for the Blazer game.
Did we like it? Do we like the format of it?
Yeah,
okay.
It was clean. And the algorithm it's not changed. There's not a forced algorithm on you.
It's just whoever you're following is what you're getting.
Is what you get.
So it's not just going to make me rage read my Twitter feed? Is that what you're telling me?
There's not a for you and your following difference. There's who you follow, and that's it.
I like that.
So I'm going to start posting some content for the show and myself more on that I think, the next
Sounds like a
couple
good
weeks.
opportunity for people to get famous, baby.
Look at
Just
that.
fun. It's just fun.
Let's build that follower list back up. I want to get to a couple of notes out of the NFL, including another alarming sign for one quarterback, a massive contract handed out for a guy that I don't know if I would have seen it coming when he left college.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know if I would have felt that way coming out of school. But he got paid, and I want to talk about that a little bit. First, here's Schultz with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by PG Long Floor Covering. Carpet, hardwood, or laminated flooring, cleaning, or restoration. Call PG Long, your Northwest flooring experts. PG Long, LLC.com. First on the Fan, the second college football playoff bracket of the season was released last night. Oregon still sitting at number 1. Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, and Indiana rounding out the rest of the top 5. At this point, the Ducks would face the winner of the 8-9 matchup between Notre Dame and Tennessee, but of course nothing's set until the final bracket is released on December 8th. Elsewhere in the NFL, former Ducks defensive back Diamador Lenore signing a 5-year, $92 million extension with the San Francisco 49ers. He's got 2 interceptions and a blocked field goal so far this year. In the association, the Blazers smacking the Timberwolves in their first NBA Cup game of the season, 122-108 the final. Jeremy Grant leading the way with 21. Robert Williams had 19 off the bench. 7 Blazers finishing in double figures overall. They've got game 2 of a back-to-back tonight against the T-Wolves back at Moda Center. And on the college hardwood, the Oregon Ducks surviving a great effort from the Portland Pilots, but they do still get the 80-70 win in overtime down at Matt Court. The Pilots, though, led by 11 at a couple different points in the second half. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultz at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. 1080, The Fan.
Well, based on what we yelled about earlier, I got a story for you in the final segment that should rev your engine a little bit. So we'll get to that coming up in a minute.
Dirt just pissed me off.
Oh, buddy, you just wait. You wait. What if they win the game, too? What if they win the game? Just wait. Hold it.
We got to get to these NFL things, man. This is wild what just happened during the break.
We have breaking news during the commercial break out of the National Football League, and that is, hey, remember when the Colts said that they were not going to go back to Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco was their guy 48 hours ago?
Yeah, Steichen was pretty firm on saying Flacco gives us the best chance. He's our quarterback.
We literally did a zigger-zag on that at 6:45 this morning. Is that the right call? Or I think it was a question.
Is it
something
good
along
for
those
a
lines.
coach to continue for a locker room? It's got to be a bad look to keep going back and forth.
48 hours ago, the Colts said, you guys don't know what you're talking about. You're idiots. Joe Flacco is going to be our guy. 5 minutes ago, the Colts just announced that Anthony Richardson will return as their starting quarterback, and he will be the starting quarterback for the rest of the year.
Look, I think this is the right move, I think, okay? And this goes back to our conversation.
Wait, hold on. I can't play my drops
my
anymore.
My drop page is
can you hit me with
on off.
No, we're having connection issues.
Oh,
It's not
of course.
working.
Oh, sure we are. Let me try it then. I'll do the live drop.
We think. I think I made the argument a month ago that, do you want to win and go to the playoffs? And you were like, he's a top 5 pick. You just got to play him and see what. And I think we disagreed on that. I'll admit I'm flipping on this in the sense of you do need to see what he is. You're not winning with Flacco.
That's the catch. If you would have won, it would have been different.
Could you be doing last couple of weeks what you've been doing with Richardson? Yeah, he could have thrown multiple interceptions and lost by double digits to the Bills too at home. Like that's not. Look, I think ultimately they made the right move. This is.
We think.
If I'm a Colts fan, this is. I mean, I'm already lost hope in your general manager. I don't think Ballard's very good.
No.
Irsay is questionable at best as an owner. You have got to have no trust in this organization. And I like Shane Steichen, but he's also the coach making decisions. I don't know what they're doing. Are they just reacting to Dan Orlovsky videos? Are they just going on Reddit and reading message board stuff? They just told us that he was the quarterback going forward. He's the best chance to win.
On Monday.
And now today on Wednesday, they flipped it completely.
It's a really bad look.
Something weird's going on, and that team is not being run well. That's a troubling sign.
I mean, I think you touched on this earlier. We're talking about the rankings that came out in college football yesterday, and I asked the question, why all of a sudden did BYU and Indiana jump Tennessee? Didn't make any sense. Tennessee blew out a bad team. BYU and Indiana didn't look exceptionally good this weekend. They should have been ahead of them in the first place. If you want to argue that, that's fine. There was nothing that happened in the last 7 days that told you BYU and Indiana should be ranked ahead of Tennessee, but they did it. Why did they do it? Because they saw the backlash. Everybody called them out for that last week of like, these are undefeated teams in quote-unquote power conferences. Why are they ranked where they're ranked? And they caved to the public pressure. They knew exactly what they were doing. And all of a sudden, miraculously, now you barely beat Utah. You needed a phantom holding call late, and the AD got fined or the other school $40,000 for complaining about it. Now you're better than Tennessee, even though you eked out a win against a really bad Utah team. That's exactly what this is, man. They have been eviscerated by everybody who knows anything about football about how dumb this move has been. Your initial argument's fine. Like, if you wanted to say Joe Flacco is going to come in and that's going to lead you to the playoffs and maybe you win a playoff game, is that worth it in the long run? I still disagree with you, but I at least see the argument.
I think making the playoffs in the NFL, it's the tank stuff in the NFL. It's not the NBA.
No.
And so, I actually think, I'll go Neil O'Shea here. I think it's better to just always want to be.
Culture matters.
Culture and winning and being consistent and being in the playoff matters in the NFL to me. So, in the moment,
totally fine
and
argument.
I was where Sprague was wrong. Way wrong on this.
He didn't end up winning, and that's where, on Monday, you want to try this for a couple weeks. I still disagree with the idea to ultimately bench Anthony Richardson. You want to try it for a couple weeks, fine. He's throwing multiple picks in both of his starts. He threw 3 picks this weekend, and you lost at home with your season's on the line. You were 4-5, I think, going into that game.
You got the Jets this week, so you got a shot.
I mean, you got the Jets. You ended the season with the Pats, the Titans, the Broncos, the Giants, the Jags. There were winnable games remaining on your schedule. Here's the thing about Anthony Richardson, though. Anthony Richardson that has always been unique is that this was, despite what the numbers might tell you in terms of his completion percentage, the way the team played in their win-loss record was not that bad. Like they were, I want to say respectable when he played last year in terms of wins and losses. Early this year, they beat the Bears. They beat the Steelers with Anthony Richardson. Or no, that might have been the game he got hurt and Flacco came in.
I think this was either on Factoid or Zigger-Zag. I believe I want to say 5-5 with him, and I believe they're now 1 game below 500. Or 2 games below 500 with other quarterbacks.
Like there's enough there that you're a 500 team with him completing 40% of his passes. The hope is he grows out of that and eventually becomes better. The guy started 10 games in his NFL career. Yeah. Really bad look for an NFL team to come out and say this 2 days later. Right move, but anytime an NFL player, coach, executive, whatever wants to tell you don't know what you're talking about because you didn't play in the NFL, point to stuff like this. The Colts in the last 5 years fired their head coach, who was one of the more respected at the time head coaches in the NFL, and hired Jeff Saturday off the set of ESPN, and then did this crap. It's embarrassing. It's a bad look. Anything to the news? We can get to this a little bit tomorrow because we're already against it. Bears players going to the head coach and the general manager asking if Caleb Williams can be benched.
Yikes. Yeah, that was a radio host in Chicago saying sources are saying players in that locker room have asked Tyson Bagent.
They want Tyson Bagent to play.
And look, I'm not going to question that guy's reporting. He's been in that market forever, but God, that's a bad look. That is such a bad look. And
is it a personality thing? Is it they think Bagent's better? Do they not? I mean, that's what would be my follow-up question.
Well, I'm curious. This happened after he got sacked 9 times, and I'm wondering if the offensive line just isn't playing for him, and if there's a reason why.
He's had a couple plays where he is not making quick decisions, and he's like kind of leaving his linemen to be vulnerable to giving up sacks. And so, like, I think it's a processing thing. I think there's a lot that's fair, I think, about Caleb. And I'm totally the guy that was like, all in, this dude, slam dunk, can't miss. So far looks stupid. I think something I've thought about the last couple of weeks watching him play is there is maybe something, too, that how he played in college, so ingrained in him. And he probably played that way in high school as well, as the moving around, the improvising, the avoiding contact and finding a pass last second, that maybe you can't break him out of some of this. It's such a habitual thing for him that it's hard to break that out and process quicker.
Got to play in the system.
He's also had a terrible offensive coordinator, and his line sucks. So it's like a combination of stuff here, and I don't know what to believe other than maybe there are guys in that locker. DJ Moore certainly doesn't seem to be enjoying it.
No.
And again, it might not all be Caleb. It's really bad right now. And that organization is a joke. They should have never brought Eberflus back. They should have never hired Waldron. All of the red flags were there. And I overlooked it and picked him to be the 7th seed in the NFC. Stupid me.
And we lost in the distraction of the breaking news. Diamador Lenore got a 5-year, $92 million deal.
You were surprised by this. He has been stellar.
No, I'm not surprised that he got the deal. I'm saying, like, when he came out of Oregon, if you would have told me he would have had this NFL career, 5 years, $92 million for a corner in the NFL.
Really? I thought he was good at Oregon.
I'm not saying he wasn't good. What was he, a 3rd-round pick, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, that's usually a good spot for a DB.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not. He was a 5th-round pick.
5th round, yeah. Okay.
5-year, $92 million deal. Like, where does that put him in terms of paid corners in the NFL?
Pretty up there, right?
That's got to be pretty. I mean, he has had an unbelievable NFL career. He has been awesome.
Let me see.
And it's a really cool story.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey.
Ramsey is number one.
Yeah.
Surtain just got paid.
He did.
Alexander in Green Bay. Terrell in Atlanta. Ward with Cleveland. 90. What was it?
92. 5 years, 92.
So that'll make him
top 5 or 6.
Top 10.
Top 10 corner in the NFL.
Not top 5 and 6.
Okay.
But, I mean, I think he is a stellar cover corner. He's a really good ball hawk. He had a really sick interception against Dak in Dallas.
He did.
I think he's in this Diggs, Lattimore, Campbell, Snead. I think he can be. Yeah, he's in that conversation to me.
Really cool story, man. 5th-round pick, $92 million deal. Congrats to Diamador Lenore. Let's wrap it up with something that'll make Sprague's head explode and another Blazer game tonight. Close it up next on The Fan.
Check out the Fan Merch Locker. Here's 1080 The Fan.
Well, you ready for your heads to explode? We talked with Josh Pate earlier in the show. Asked him, how do we fix this? We got a looming problem coming in the world of college football, and that is tiebreakers deciding who's going to play for conference championships. The SEC probably the most chaotic, although BYU...
The Big 12 is certainly
Yeah, the Big 12's in that. BYU, Colorado, and then you got Iowa State and Kansas State and Arizona State. A lot of two-loss teams right now.
Mm-hmm.
The SEC is the one we're all going to have our eyes on, though, because they're going to get a three-loss team into the playoff, and everybody's going to yell about it when it happens in a month. There is a scenario out there right now. If every SEC favorite wins for the next 3 weeks, so Georgia beats Tennessee, LSU beats Florida, blah, blah, blah. Every favorite wins the next 3 weeks of the regular season. And in the last week of the season, Arkansas beats Missouri at home, which I would argue there's a very good chance that happens because I don't think Missouri is a very good football team. The SEC championship game will be the winner of Texas and Texas A&M, who play in the last week of the regular season. Whoever wins that game will go, versus LSU. Not Georgia, not Ole Miss, not Tennessee, not Alabama, none of them. The SEC championship game will be the winner of Texas and Texas A&M versus LSU. And LSU could be a three-loss team that then if they win that, they get an automatic bid to the playoff. And you might get 6 SEC teams in the playoff.
Well, okay, but here's the thing about that.
Yeah.
So, God, some of this stuff, we're going to argue till we die.
We will.
If A&M beats Texas, because that's a home game for A&M.
It is a home game for A&M.
This is payback, man. They have been building
No,
on
actually, I don't
this.
think it is. I think it's at Texas. Let me check. Hold on.
Oh, I thought that was at A&M.
Let me check. Continue your point. Let me check.
You correct me if I'm wrong.
I will double
okay?
check.
If A&M wins, okay, Reed goes crazy and runs all over the lawn.
You are correct. It is at Texas A&M.
Yeah, see, I remember hearing about that, like this, and they haven't played in a long time. Like this is a massive
It's the revisit of the rivalry.
Yes.
That is also happening with Texas this weekend. They play Arkansas.
Your SEC title game being A&M and LSU. It should matter. It should matter that Georgia and Bama and Texas
That should
are
matter.
not, and Ole Miss are not in it. And so, yeah, there's going to be 3 to 4 teams from the SEC without a doubt. You're going to give me 6? I might boycott.
You going to boycott the playoff? We're boycotting?
I want to.
You stand out there with a picket. We won't watch. We won't watch.
I'll be so
Too much
alone.
SEC. Too much SEC. This would be a disaster for the conference.
How would you?
This would be a disaster.
Yeah, if you're a committee, how would you justify?
LSU just got dog walked in their own building. There's nobody that would argue they're one of the 2 best teams in the conference. They're a 3-loss team, though, but you got to remember one of their losses is a non-conference game. That doesn't count. They only have 2 conference losses. So you are faced right now with a very realistic possibility. Tennessee, Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, A&M all have 2 conference losses.
What if they knew? Oh, my God.
A&M could be in the playoff.
What if LSU won?
If LSU won, they're in because you get an automatic bid into the playoff.
What seed would they be? You cannot put 5 SEC teams in and then tell me they're the 4th ranked.
They might not get the bye.
No, you can't do that.
Because
That's impossible.
Where did they just fall down in the rankings?
Don't suddenly shift to non-SEC guys.
LSU right now is ranked 22nd in the country.
Yeah, and
their next 3 games are against Florida on the road this week.
What's your point?
Which they could probably lose that game, to be fair. Vanderbilt at home.
If Clemson
and then Oklahoma.
and Colorado win their respective conferences, LSU's the 2 seed.
That's true. Nah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Don't abandon the SEC.
Am I living in fairy tale land here?
Just call the CFP the SEC Conference Championship.
This would be a disaster. An absolute disaster, which part of me is kind of rooting for it, to be honest with you, at this point.
Really?
Just give me chaos. Because we need to figure this out. But these jumbo conferences with no divisions, tiebreakers. What did you think was going to happen? They can't play everybody.
Bring back the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Pac-12.
It's harder than the Big Ten, that's for damn sure.
Give another Group 4 school a bid. Give them a bid. Let's give them
Colorado,
2 bids.
Oregon, Arizona State, Washington State. There's 4 good teams right there. Our conference was great. Why did we do this?
I love it, man.
Why did we do this?
That'll do it for us, folks. If you missed any of the show, go check the podcast, 1080thefan.com, at Dirt and Sprague, and at 1080thefan on Twitter. Thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Blazers lose tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They won the split.
Okay. We're double dipping? Because I lost money on them last night. Are we double dipping?
I'm triple dipping.
A triple dip.
So cover the 9?
I put a lot of my account on that. Good for you. And my account's not flush with
On
cash.
T-Wolves -9?
Yeah.
Damn.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll join
Is
him.
Banton coming out starting 5 for 5
Yeah, we could have
again?
another Banton game, baby. Let's go.
I don't know,
Is he
man.
our second best guard?
Josh Pate was on earlier, the commissioner of the sport. Go check that as well. Thanks, everybody, for being a part of our Wednesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Calling us next. Listening to 1080 The Fan.